Okay, my dudes, it is time to stop. It is time to stop the nonsense. I am tired. I am sick of it. What are people doing drafting against computers? If you're drafting against something that's auto-selecting other picks, you are wasting your time. You are not getting any better at fantasy football. You are doing nothing. Now, if you actually want to get better at fantasy football, you need to be drafting in real money fantasy football drafts. Now, to get into those leagues, of course, it's kind of a pain in the ass because you can't go, okay, well, Mason, I have 2 or 3 leagues that I really care about every single year. I want to dedicate a ton of time to those in going through with my start-sit decisions. I want to dedicate my time with those going through, making sure we're checking the waiver wire. How am I supposed to jump into 10 more real money drafts against real people to get better at drafting for 2021? Well, guys, Underdog Fantasy is the way to go. With Underdog Fantasy, you are going to be able to come out. You are going to be able to participate in real money fantasy football drafts for you to try to implement some draft strategy that we are going to be doing in these live drafts tonight. And you're not going to be going up against a computer. You're going to be going up against real people. And I know a lot of sites allow you to jump in a mock draft with real people, but those people, if it's a mock draft and you don't necessarily have any money on the line, they're gone by the time you get to round 4. By the time you get to round 4, those people are just going to be on auto and you're drafting against the computer yet again. Now, the problem is if you're going through and drafting in 10 different leagues, you have to go through and submit all those starting lineups. You have to go through and do all those waiver wires. Well, in Underdog Fantasy, you don't have to do the waiver wire. You don't have to make those start-sit decisions. Those are not really factors when you're drafting a team in that you never submit a starting lineup. So please understand that. Don't be watching videos where people are drafting against a computer. Don't be drafting against a computer yourself. Nobody is helping you. Nobody is doing any kind of service whatsoever. Get in some real money drafts on Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK for $25 added on to a $10 deposit. And at the same time, with promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 rankings, and let's get some live drafts going. Okay, let me get out a link in the live chat. We're not going to send this one on Patreon because we got a lot to get to. I want to hop in a live draft right now. If y'all are new to the channel, we do live drafts every single night. Okay, so if you're going, okay, I'm watching this video 2 weeks from now. Is Mason live drafting tonight? Can I go hop in some Underdog drafts with him? Yes, you can. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're dropping likes, and let's get this going. Sending out the link. This is going to be a $5 draft that we're starting off. Later on in the stream, we can do a 50, we can do 100, we can do whatever y'all want in the live chat, but we're going to start it off with a warm-up $5 draft. Let me send this out. Okay. Well, almost sent the wrong link. My bad, my dudes. This is going to fill really quick. But we're going to do a lot more drafts tonight. Okay, I see someone wants the $100 draft to start us off. Guys, we can't do the $100 draft to start. I have to make sure that we get at least a little warm before we go through and get a $100 draft going. Okay, so this got filled ASAP. This got filled extremely quickly, and we get the 108. Honestly, I think this is going to be one of our, I want to say maybe our second or third time drafting from the 108 in a real league. So yeah, not completely comfortable with the spot. We've drafted at the 107. We drafted at the 109. So we're not going to be completely out of water at the 108. So what we're going to be looking for here is we're not going to have any of these top 5 running backs falling to us, or we're not going to have access to a Devonta Adams. It's essentially going to be, do we draft an Aaron Jones, a Saquon Barkley, a Tyreek Hill, or Travis Kelce? That's going to be the question. And of course, we will get to that as soon as we get to the 108. But we are going to be going through and we are going to be showing off our favorite draft strategy of 2021 in this video. I'm not going to reveal it right away because this is a live stream and I don't necessarily want to spill all the beans until we can actually make it happen. So of course, once it happens, I'll go through, I'll illustrate exactly why it is so effective in fantasy and exactly what we did to implement it through the live draft. Hopefully we can pull it off in the first draft. If we can't pull it off in the first draft, maybe you're going to have to stick around to the second or the third. But anyway, let's get this going. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook to start this draft off. Okay, so like I said, we're going to have these top 5 running backs off the board. We're also going to have Devonta Adams off the board. We're going to be picking between 2 different people pretty much. And we have a lot of irregulars. Okay, we have Spack out here. Okay, Spack is picking at the 103. There's no way he goes Antonio Gibson here. Guys, if y'all don't know who Chaos Man is, He is out in the live drafts all the time, and he starts off every single draft Antonio Gibson and Dobbins in the second. So he goes Derrick Henry in the first here, but I honestly think we'll probably see a J.K. Dobbins here at pick 22 just because this man loves him some Antonio Gibson and J.K. Dobbins. And my dudes, we are about to, okay, Zachary says, remember pin message and sub-only mode. Yes, sir. Let me go through. Let me make sure we turn this chat to subscriber only, or it's going to be way too hectic in here for us. Anyway, let's actually first make sure we're going to be making our selection. So yeah, we have those Travis Kelce now off the board. So we're going to be looking at either one of Tyreek Hill or my favorite running back in Saquon Barkley. And honestly, we do not have enough Barkley in our life. I have Saquon Barkley ranked as our running back 4. I know a lot of people are saying, but Mason, the injury. Well, guys, there are very few running backs in fantasy that can see as many targets out of a backfield as Saquon Barkley can. There are very few guys with the same level of talent that he is. So let's go through and let's make sure that we pin this top message. And Saquon Barkley is off the PUP. So exciting. Now, Barkley, wheels up. We're going to be drafting him at the 108 every time we can. And guys, if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, if you have yet to hit the bell next to the subscribe button, fix your life. Make sure you go and do that right now. So Tyreek Hill at the 109, the other player that we were going to be considering, Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs, Austin Eckler, Calvin Ridley. Okay, so here it's pretty much, we're going to be looking for 2 guys if we can. Okay, one of them's already off the board with Calvin Ridley. So it looks like that's not going to be in play. Obviously, I can't say it, guys. If you're new to a live stream, if y'all are new to watching this video, I'm playing in leagues with my real money, with real people watching us in this draft. Okay, so please understand that I can't go through and just, if it was like a mock draft or you're watching someone draft against a computer, which does nothing, then of course they can go through, okay, at the 205, this is what we're wanting. No, we have to wait until we're on the clock to say that, because if I say that right now when we're at the 202, we're getting sniped. Okay, so Najee Harris at the 203. We love seeing Najee Harris go off the board. I wouldn't have drafted Najee Harris here anyway. Now, we get the player that we wanted to fall to us. We're going to start very balanced here. We're going to go with a top running back and a top receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, my wide receiver 4 in fantasy. So we are literally going through. We're getting our running back 4 and our wide receiver 4 in our first and second round picks. A very balanced start. We will have the flexibility later on. If we think there's some running back value, we can go get it. If we think the value's at wide receiver, we can go there as well. So really nothing that's going to limit us to doing exactly what we want. Okay. Suzuki says, the flock numero uno. Mason, you're the man. Saludos from California, my man. I probably sounded like the whitest person ever saying that, but thank you so much for coming, supporting the channel from California. A ton of our listeners are in California, which we're in Florida. So for us to go live, if we want to be premiering to the people in California, I mean, it's 9 p.m. where I'm at right now, 6 p.m. where y'all are. I mean, Thomas, our editor, actually is in LA. So that's kind of perfect for us because we can go through, we can make a video, we can send it over to him by the time he even wakes up. We're all good. And that's perfect for us, but the time change for live streaming is a little bit different. Okay, so we get some more running backs going off the board here in Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor. Okay, so this looks like it's going to be a running back heavy draft. I mean, we have J.K. Dobbins going here at the 210. This is what I told y'all was going to happen. I think Spack kind of made it look like a fake timeout so he could get Derrick Henry at the 103. In reality, he wanted Antonio Gibson. Of course, he's not going to get Antonio Gibson, though, at the 210. I don't think he could really waste his money, though, by drafting Gibson at the 103. And this is another reason, guys, you want to be looking at real money fantasy drafts. You can't be looking at this draft against the computer BS. You can't be looking at just people going through and doing mock drafts with no money attached to it, because then all of a sudden we know Spack is taking Antonio Gibson here at the 103 because there are no real consequences to it. But if you're drafting with real stakes on the line, I mean, you have to make picks that you fully stand behind. That CR, Saquon Barkley, and DeAndre Hopkins picks in the first and second round. Okay, so Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb goes over Justin Jefferson in this draft. And I actually am going to record a video tomorrow where I go through and I talk about our wide receiver rankings in terms of the guys 6 through 12. And I'm having to make an adjustment. Due to the Amari Cooper injury, I think we actually need to go out of our way and we need to raise CeeDee Lamb up in our rankings. We currently have him as wide receiver 13. I think that's going to be too low. I think we need to move him ahead of Allen Robinson. I think we need to move him ahead of Chris Godwin and ahead of Robert Woods, all wide receivers that we currently have ranked before CeeDee Lamb. But the Amari Cooper injury, of course, is going to change some things. So let's get this going. It looks like we're going to be drafting a receiver here unless we want to reach on a running back. So Allen Robinson goes at the 307. Robinson would have really been the guy that I was going to want. So you know what? I know a lot of people want me to go Terry McLaurin here. Now, y'all know I'm not a massive fan of Terry McLaurin, so instead we're actually going to be going with a Robert Woods. And a Robert Woods, let me just go through and kind of give my little spiel on why we think, though, you should be going with the Robert Woods over a Terry McLaurin. So the first thing is that we have seen the consistent production over the past 3 years from Robert Woods, where he has been a borderline top 10 wide receiver every single year. I mean, you're seeing him be a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, season in, season out. It doesn't matter what year it is. Now you're having Robert Woods get one of the largest quarterback upgrades in the entire NFL. He is going from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford. And if you don't know how large of a quarterback upgrade that is, I mean, Sean McVay told us. Sean McVay spent every single day with Jared Goff since 2016. I'm sorry, since 2017. But anyway, I think Sean McVay knows way more about the talent of Jared Goff than we do. And Sean McVay signed off on the fact that, I mean, he wanted the Rams to trade away Goff for Matthew Stafford, and they were willing to give up 2 future first-round picks on top of it. So Robert Woods gets that significant quarterback upgrade. I would argue possibly, I want to say the same, if not a larger quarterback upgrade than Terry McLaurin gets, who's going over to Ryan Fitzmagic. And Terry McLaurin is purely a projection at this point for him to become a top 10 wide receiver. We have already seen it from Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods has the potential to be a top 5 guy this year, and I think that his floor is going to be a lot higher than Terry McLaurin's. Okay. So at the 405 here, I think we are going to be going with another wide receiver most likely. Y'all know by now, if you've been watching a lot of these streams, I'm not a fan of Kyle Pitts. And we are going to be drafting Miles Sanders a considerable amount in the 4th round. But I think we're wanting to do so on teams where we're drafting closer to the end of the 4th round compared to at the 405. So we are going to be getting another receiver. It's just going to depend on who Patriot decides to leave us. So he goes T. Higgins, a little bit of a reach on T. Higgins. Now, I'll say that it's definitely going to be down between Chris Godwin and Julio Jones for us. But if you check out our draft guide, I'm actually considerably higher than consensus on Chris Godwin. So we're going to be getting Godwin here to pair with a DeAndre Hopkins, a Robert Woods, and a Saquon Barkley start. I love this start to the draft that we have had so far. Now, we're going to have to find some running back value in rounds 5, 6, 7. We kind of have skewed a little bit heavier on the wide receiver side. But a big thing is, guys, if y'all are new to Underdog Fantasy, which is where I advise you to play in 2021, like I said, on Underdog Fantasy, if you sign up with promo code FLOCK, make a $10 deposit, you are getting our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You are getting our 2021 rankings and tiers. You are getting $25 added on to your Underdog account, and you are supporting the channel a ton while doing so. And if you go through and do that and you look at those rankings, you're going to see that Chris Godwin, I think, at the 405 is going to be a fantastic pick. And that if you look at Godwin compared to Mike Evans last year, Chris Godwin had more targets. Chris Godwin was actually just a way better bet in terms of the volume that he had in the offense. Now, Mike Evans was crazy with his touchdown rate. So Mike Evans actually outproduced him. But I think the difference between the 2 wide receivers isn't that much. I would actually prefer Chris Godwin, who I've ranked ahead of Mike Evans. So yeah, if you do like a recap of all these drafts, I'm unsure if I've drafted Mike Evans in a single one. But this is kind of what we want here, to be honest, my guys, because we get 3 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds. So what we want after this is we want a wide receiver run to happen. And of course, in the 4th round, this is the round of the wide receiver. We talk about it all the time. It's not necessarily because we got 3 guys. I'm not saying we were able to dictate the draft board. It's more so that this has been all season the round that you are seeing just a ton of wide receivers go off the board. I mean, if we look at the 3rd and 4th rounds, I mean, you only have 6 non-receivers being drafted. So out of the 24 picks, 18 of them were receiver in round 3 and round 4. So hopefully we actually get a few running backs that we like falling to us. This range of the draft here, once you get to the middle of the 5th round, there's going to be a massive teardrop, but we're going to be able to pull something off in a little bit that I think we can get excited about. Okay, so I see someone asking, what's the top draft strategy? My man, we are about to get to the top draft strategy. I just can't give it away when we're in the middle of a live stream. I can't give it away and have us get sniped. But Steelers fan on the clock here at the 4:04, I believe. I'm sorry, the 5:04. And also we passed 100 likes on the live stream. And my guys, we are going to pass 28,000 subscribers in this stream tonight. So thank you everybody going down there, dropping that like, helping this channel continue to grow. Travis Etienne at the 5:04. I think that's a fantastic draft pick. I mean, if Travis Etienne ended up falling to us at the 5:06, that would have been a pick we were all about. Okay. So now let's see where Fully Loaded decides to go. He goes Robbie Anderson. Wide receivers continue to fly. Now let's pull up our draft and what we are going to be looking at. Daryl Henderson falling like a rock. Daryl Henderson has been one of the fastest risers in ADP over the past 2 weeks. I mean, even after the Cam Akers injury, he has just continued to rise in his draft price. Okay, so lost camp on the clock. Okay, so he goes Daryl Henderson. Now we are one pick away. The team before us has Mixon, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, and Travis Kelce, where we are currently sitting with Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, and Chris Godwin. So they go with the Mike Davis, and this pick is going to be very easy. And this is where we get into the draft strategy behind this entire live stream. So y'all have heard me talk about it before and how advantageous stacking is, but I want to go through and I want to recap how we set this stack up. And this is why drafting on Underdog Fantasy and getting in, like we've said so many times before, these real money fantasy drafts can make you a significantly better drafter over time once you have a good understanding of how the board is going to fall to you. So when we're sitting here in the middle of the second round, while I think that a DeAndre Hopkins, a Joe Mixon, and a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they're all very close for me in fantasy this season. What we have to understand is we have to understand how the draft board is going to shake out later on in the draft. So like we had previously discussed about 30 seconds ago, and this is a trend that I really picked up on about, I want to say last week, where it seemed like every single time we got on the clock in the middle of the fifth round, we were just in a disgusting range where y'all know I hate Mike Davis. I'm never going to consider drafting Mike Davis here. And we're on record saying if you're going to go with an elite quarterback in this range, I think that you need to be making sure that you go through and get one that's going to be stacked to one of your picks previously. So I think what we actually need to be doing at this time is we need to go through and we need to identify the players that are going to be going in the late first, early second round that can have those stack options with the elite quarterbacks in the late fifth, early sixth. Because if we want to avoid a dead range in the draft, which is this late fifth, sixth round, where you're seeing a Jerry Jeudy go at the 5:10, you're seeing a Mike Davis go at the 5:07, you have Robbie Anderson at the 5:05, and we have already discussed at length how important stacking is in fantasy and that it raises your ceiling. While yes, it lowers your floor, you can't be worried about your floor in fantasy, because if you're worried about your floor in fantasy, you're going to lose your league regardless. We're doing everything that we can to try to raise our ceiling. So I think now when you see that dead range, we have to be going out of our way and we have to be setting up our stacks when we know we're going to be in the dead range in the fifth and sixth rounds. We have to go out of our way to go and target a DeAndre Hopkins, because when we get a Hopkins early, what that allows us is that allows us to look at a Kyler Murray in the fifth round as, instead of a reach, a value, because it fits our team construction. So you're going to see me drafting a lot of Stephon Diggs. As of now, you're going to see me going out and you're going to see me drafting a ton of DeAndre Hopkins. Now here, we're either going to go TJ Hawkinson or Mark Andrews. I think we actually slightly prefer Hawkinson, but y'all know I'm going to be in like 250 drafts this year. And I don't think that we have Andrews in nearly as many as we have TJ Hawkinson. So let's diversify here a little bit. And let's go back up into this range in the late first, early second round. And let's kind of go back to trying to identify those stacks before we can find them. So the quarterbacks that are going to be going in this range, we know you're going to have a Kyler Murray, a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson, and a Dak Prescott. So let's go through and let's try to identify the wide receivers that are going to be going in the late third, the late first, early second, possibly even late third that we could be looking to stack later on. So here, like we had already discussed, getting that DeAndre Hopkins at the 205, I think that's going to set you up very nicely to get a Kyler Murray at the 508. Here, a Tyreek Hill is interesting, but the problem with Tyreek Hill is when you're going and you're completing a stack, you're doing so with Mahomes. And if you're going to drop Mahomes, you either have to take him the third or fourth round. And the difference between a third or a fourth round pick in terms of the opportunity cost is going to be pretty big, because like we've already said, we're trying to avoid this dead range in the draft here. So if we're trying to avoid this dead range, yes, it's advantageous to take one of those elite quarterbacks. But when you're taking a Mahomes here instead at the 311, the wide receiver that you're passing up on is going to be a Chris Godwin. The running back that you're passing up on is going to be a David Montgomery. That's a significantly higher opportunity cost where we don't necessarily want to go out and specifically target a Patrick Mahomes stack. While yes, Mahomes obviously the best quarterback in fantasy, it's not necessarily solving the issue at hand. Instead, it's putting a Band-Aid on it. But I think we want to go through and we just want to completely forget that the issue even exists. And if we can avoid that dead range. So like we discussed, a DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be the ideal player. You can also go through, you can get the Stephon Diggs at the 111. So Josh Allen actually doesn't end up falling to this range, but you'll see Josh Allen a lot of the times falling to the 5-6 turn. And if you're able to pull a Stephon Diggs here, instead of having to take a Kenny Golladay, you can come away with the Josh Allen and you can get that elite wide receiver and quarterback pairing. So yeah, those are going to be the main stacks. Calvin Ridley, I really like in this range, but a Matt Ryan's not going to be for much longer. So I really want to make sure that we're trying to avoid this dead range of players. So you're going to be seeing me a lot more aggressive on both Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins as of late, because I think it will not necessarily help us that much in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But by the time we get to round 5, it's going to set us up to be in a really, really nice spot. But please let me know what y'all think about that. Let me know if y'all think I am currently just going crazy and I've done way too many fantasy drafts this offseason. And I possibly have, guys. We have put so much money into fantasy drafts. But right now, I love our start. We have Kyler Murray at quarterback, Saquon Barkley at running back, Mark Andrews at tight end. Our wide receivers loaded with DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin. I think we have solved the game here. And we're going to get Chase Edmonds in the 7th round as our running back too. This is fantastic. So Rom coming out with a donation says, Mason, my brother, hope all is well. My man, thank you so much for coming out, supporting the channel. I'm happy that you're able to make it out to the live stream. I hope you're jumping into the next draft with us, my man. Okay. So yeah, we're going to go Chase Edmonds at the 708, and that's one of the easiest picks I've made all night, to be completely honest. It's also going through, and it's another bet that we're making on the Arizona Cardinals offense. So if we see this Cardinals offense turn into the Kansas City Chiefs from 2018, turn into the Baltimore Ravens from 2019, turn into the Buffalo Bills from this past year, all of a sudden, we have a league-winning stack with the starting quarterback, with the alpha wide receiver, with the running back catching passes out of the backfield. So I really like what we were able to accomplish here at the 108. And I really hope that this was a little bit deeper than the previous stacking video that we have made, because it's going to be a lot harder to pull off, which is why, guys, I don't know how many times we have to beat this down, but promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Deposit $10. They'll pay you $25. You'll have $35 in your account. They have $3 draft boards where, guys, keep in mind, you're not just paying them $3 to draft. You're putting $3 in a pot to win it at the end. So you go through, you play in a $3 league, and you can do 11 of those, and you can come away as such a good fantasy football player by just getting that draft volume in. And none of your league mates are going to be doing this. None of your league mates are going to have this kind of experience. They're going to be busy drafting against the computers that are taking players that would never go in a certain range, that they're taking someone, just say, like a defense in the 7th round. For whatever reason, they're letting Laviska Shenault fall to the 12th. So please make sure you're getting in some real money leagues. So Rom coming out with another donation, my man. I'll get to that in 1 second, I promise you. Okay, so someone says A.J. Dillon at the 703. A.J. Dillon went at the 703, but that was by SPAC. SPAC is a madman. SPAC is... Do not look at SPAC's draft and think that you should take anything from it. He's the guy that you need to be avoiding in the mock draft. He's the guy that's going out there and messing up the board. Okay, but now that we're on the clock, we're in a range where we don't necessarily love any of these receivers. Now, I will say, given the fact that this is a best ball format, we know that you definitely want to be changing your draft strategy slightly, where those receivers that do have the spike week potential, they slightly go up in value. So here, I think we actually go and we get a player that is surging right now as the clear wide receiver 2 for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not sure if we would have made that selection if it was not a best ball league. And I can actually say for certain, if it was not a best ball league and you were actually submitting your starting lineup each and every week, there we are taking Michael Thomas. But a big difference between an underdog best ball league and what you're going to find with a real fantasy football league is, in a real fantasy league, you know that your points in weeks 14, 15, 16, those are going to be significantly more valuable given the fact that it's going to be during the fantasy football playoffs. Whereas here, what you actually have is in an underdog format, your points in weeks 1, 2, and 3 matter just as much as your points at the end of the season. So that's going to drive down the value of those players that we know are going to miss time, just because they're going to have to be extra special just to make up on the lost weeks that they had. So that's going to be the explanation of passing on a Michael Thomas at the 806, where if we were playing in a regular league, this is a pick that I'm making probably in the 7th round, to be honest. Okay, so Ram comes out and he says, what are your thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins? What's your assessment of him in comparison to Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs? Do you think he has a shot as the wide receiver 1 overall? Yes, sir. I actually think that he does have that shot. If you look at not a Devontae Adams. If you look at a DeAndre Hopkins, this is a wide receiver that has had 10 targets per game every single year over the past 3 seasons. Seeing that type of volume simply doesn't happen. But what's weird with DeAndre Hopkins is he's kind of been inefficient when it comes to his touchdown scoring. Now, this is something that I think for most receivers, we actually go through and we expect to completely regress. I mean, if you're getting 10 targets a game, we're expecting you to be a receiver that scores 12 touchdowns a game on average, to be honest, especially when you have the frame of a DeAndre Hopkins. Now, he hasn't had one of those spike seasons yet with his touchdown volume, but we know that's the most volatile thing season to season. So I will say that he does have potential to be the wide receiver 1 overall, but he's going to have to see that change. He's going to have to start scoring more touchdowns. I don't know if it's the role that he has in the red zone. I don't know what the reasoning is that DeAndre Hopkins doesn't necessarily score like the other receivers at the top, but the volume is there, and we know volume is king. Trey Lance at the 903. Okay, we're done looking at SPAC's draft. We're done looking at this. Okay, so he goes Dylan at the 703. He gets Trey Lance in the 903. I don't agree with either pick. I mean, I guess no, I lied to you. He is getting a stack. He's getting a Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and Trey Lance stack. Now, I will say this is a little bit of a different scenario where here, I think this is an instance where you're kind of reaching on the quarterback, even though, trust me, I love Trey Lance. Very few people are higher on Trey Lance than I am. I've been higher on Trey Lance than pretty much anybody all offseason. Now, he's getting to a point where his price has risen so much, we kind of have to sit here and reevaluate at a new price, because it was easy for me to scream that you needed to be drafting him so long ago, but now it's a little bit different. Okay, so now at the 908, I think that we honestly make a pretty easy selection here, especially considering the construction that we have had with this team so far. So Zach Moss goes, and I'm looking at Ronald Jones as the last running back in the tier. I think we can get one of these wide receivers or a tight end on the way back. That's going to be completely fine. We only have 2 running backs here, and we know that in a league where you don't have access to the waiver wire, we definitely want to make sure that we're coming away with more than just that at the running back position. So we're going to get Ronald Jones at the 908. And my dudes, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream right now, after we have gone live every single night over the past 2 weeks, after we are going to continue to go live every single night leading up until the fantasy football season, I don't even want to say fix your life. I want to say the disrespect is unreal. Drop that like. Help us out, my dudes. If y'all are enjoying the content, make sure you drop that like, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. There's no reason for us to have almost 500 people watching the stream and only having 100 likes. Like, y'all are going to make me cry. Okay. So Melvin Gordon goes to the 9-10. We got a wide receiver in Elijah Moore, definitely rising up due to the training camp reports. And like I said, I mean, Elijah Moore was someone that I loved going into the NFL draft. I was all about Elijah Moore. I was drafting him every single chance that we had before the NFL draft. Now, the problem is Jamison Crowder restructuring his contract, because even after he went to the Jets, I was very happy with Elijah Moore, and that I thought that he was going to be a player that we were looking at and going, okay, well, he can immediately be the target leading receiver on the New York Jets, and there are not going to be that many options to go to outside of a Corey Davis. But now that they restructure Jamison Crowder, I think that we need to be slightly concerned. And here, receiver, I think that the clear choice, honestly, is going to be a receiver. Considering we already have an elite tight end and an elite quarterback, we have a running back situation figured out where we don't have to reach on either a James Conner or a Leonard Fournette. So we're going to be going with a Rashad Bateman here. Okay, so let's switch this back to this draft board. We'll do it on the left side. Self-Made Fantasy says, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yes, sir. We just passed 200 likes on the live stream. Thank you, my dudes, for going down there and dropping that like. Jeff says, Mason, why do you never draft Antonio Brown? I've watched many of your drafts and you've always had the opportunity, yet you never pulled the trigger and never explained why. Love the channel, bro. Keep up the good work. Honestly, my man, I don't necessarily think that we have anything against Antonio Brown. I will give more commentary on Antonio Brown when we get to the selection where he's actually going to go. And I'll talk about if I thought he was a good value, if I thought we were going to consider drafting him. I don't necessarily think that we can pull up our past drafts and kind of talk on that just because I'm not necessarily knowing where we're sitting in the moment, because obviously as we go through a draft, definitely what is currently going on dictates a lot with what I have to do. Okay. So Parker at the 10:06. Devonta Parker is someone that honestly, I kind of wanted to take over Rashad Bateman given the format, but the problem is we currently have Devonta Parker in about 25% of these drafts. And y'all know when I'm going to be putting in 250 drafts this offseason, it's going to be very hard for me to go through and have 25% of any one player, because 25% of one player, say, tears his ACL, and then all of a sudden I spent money on 250 fantasy football drafts, anywhere from $50 to $100. Then all of a sudden I'm out 25% of leagues like that. And that is a significant amount. So I definitely want to be diversifying a little bit. I would rather have the exposure probably down to like 20% compared to 25%, which is still significantly higher than baseline. If you just understand that if you're only playing in 12-team leagues, if you just go and you take the highest player according to ADP every single time, you're going to be sitting at having an average of 8% per player. So still getting them in 20% of leagues means you're drafting them double over expectation, which is still very, very aggressive. And that's where we're going to be on Devonta Parker. I just have to kind of check myself, to be honest. Okay. Jayan says, Rashad Bateman suffered an injury at practice today. He pulled up. Yeah, I believe he pulled his groin, right? And then limped to the locker room. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Rashad Bateman currently has a groin injury. But a big thing is with Bateman, I mean, you're not necessarily drafting him for his production right away. I think that when you see an injury to a Devonta Smith and you kind of have to adjust your rankings to a point where, I mean, Devonta Smith is going ahead of, let's see where he went in this draft. So Devonta Smith, yeah, right here, he goes right before Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Cooks. But you had seen him previously going before like a Juju Smith-Schuster. You had seen him going before Cortland Sutton, before these Denver guys. He actually falls a considerable amount here. But before the Devonta Smith injury, he was actually going up in this range of wide receivers, and you're passing on some pretty damn good players to take him there. When we take a Rashad Bateman, the opportunity cost is just going to be significantly lower when we go through and we draft him over a Devonta Parker, Henry Ruggs, Rondale Moore, Bryan Edwards. So I think we're still kind of fine with that. Of course, you don't love him having a groin injury, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And if we're going to get a discount, I think we kind of take it. Okay. So now we are going to be on the clock in 2 picks. And since we went with the Kyler Murray at quarterback, we're not necessarily having to reach anywhere else if we don't see a value that we like. So I think we just continue to hammer in the players that present themselves to us. So Justin Fields goes here. So I think we're actually going to go get a running back that I'm very fond of. I like 2 running backs in Las Vegas right now. I am a big fan of both Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs at their respective draft prices. And the reasoning is if you look at the red zone usage for what the Raiders do when they get inside the red zone, a lot of the times they're willing to give those touches to the running back position, which we know is extremely valuable. And at the same time, you actually see Kenyon Drake stepping into a very defined role. And if you had an injury to a Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake becomes a 3-down running back that we saw at the end of 2019. And if you had an injury to Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs becomes a 3-down running back that we have yet to see before, because Josh Jacobs at his peak in 2020 tapped out at 3 targets per game. But the thesis behind the play is it's essentially a discount in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt pairing, because they're going to be playing in a worse offense. They're each slightly worse talents. Of course, they're going to need to go later in fantasy drafts, but I think when you can go through and you can take a Kenyon Drake over a Latavius Murray, it is going to make a lot of sense, because he's still going to be getting targets in games that Josh Jacobs is healthy. So I like Drake and Josh Jacobs at ADP. Now, keep in mind, if you're new to the channel, let's go back to see where Josh Jacobs is getting drafted right now. Jacobs is getting drafted a lot of the times. He gets drafted a little earlier here at the 501. We have seen him consistently falling to the range where he's kind of in this dead zone at the 504, 505, 506. And you're essentially asking yourself, if you're going to draft the Josh Jacobs, do I want Jacobs or do I want Jerry Jeudy, Kenny Golladay, or Odell Beckham Jr.? So when you're asking yourself that question, it's very easy to go through and understand why Josh Jacobs is actually an appealing pick. And I was the captain of the Josh Jacobs is overrated ship that was driving through fantasy leagues this offseason. I was screaming that Josh Jacobs was one of the worst values in fantasy drafts. But that's when he was going over Robert Woods. That's when he was going over Allen Robinson. That's when he was going over significant receivers. So if you're telling me, Mason, do you want Allen Robinson or Josh Jacobs? I'm going, of course I want Allen Robinson. That's like the worst question you've ever asked me. If you're telling me, Mason, do you want Josh Jacobs or Odell Beckham Jr.? I'm going, I mean, hell, give me Josh Jacobs. He's a value there. So don't pin me down as the Josh Jacobs truther. I'm not the Josh Jacobs truther, but we are going to be getting a Jamal Williams, a very similar running back to a Kenyon Drake, someone that's going to have a role in their offense every single week. And if we had an injury to the player in front of them, then all of a sudden you know that you have Jamal Williams jumping up into a significant role. So we're going to go Jacobs. Also, you have DeAndre Swift with the injury. So I think Jamal Williams completely fine there at the 12:05. We are now going to be drafting only wide receivers. We're going to get one more quarterback, one more tight end. Given the fact that we have 5 running backs on this team, in Underdog, you can no longer draft running backs when you have 5 by the time you get to the 12th round, because in Underdog, the main difference between this platform and what you're going to have with a different fantasy football site, where if you're playing with your friends on a league where you have access to the waiver wire, then you can go through, you can just continue to pick value all the way through the draft. Here, roster construction matters a lot more, but still, I think it's a great tool to get better at your real fantasy football drafts. And also, guys, if you are just now joining the live stream, and you have yet to subscribe to the channel, if you have yet to hit the bell next to the subscribe button, make sure you do so, because when you hit that bell, what you're going to have the opportunity to do is you're going to have the opportunity to come out to us with the very beginning of the live stream, where now when we send out that link to get in our next fantasy football chat, there are going to be about 500 people all of a sudden trying to press that link and get into our next fantasy football draft. Whereas if you come out at the very beginning, you're going to be fighting with about 90 other people. And not all of those people want to get in the draft. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to hop in one of these drafts if you're subscribed to the channel. You hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live. You come out right away, compared to if you wait until, hey, it's been live for like 2 hours, let's go hop in a draft. At that point, it's going to be a lot harder. Well, of course, you can still do it. I mean, we have a lot of regulars out here in this draft right now. We have some new people, but the regulars that I'm seeing, the names that we recognize, of course, we have SPAC. FBG has been in here before. Jackson's been in here before. Lost Camp, Senior Skittles, obviously Fantasy Flock. I believe Patriots may be new. Chapman, I know, has been here. I think Big Ray is new as well. T Coffee's been in here. So I think we have 3 new people and 9 regulars in this draft. But it's mainly because those regulars are the ones that are subscribing and hitting that bell next to the subscribe button. Okay, so now let's get this going. And like we said, we can no longer draft running back. We are exclusively going quarterback, receiver, and tight end from here on out. Okay, so at the 13:08, let's try to figure out where we're going to go. So right now our team, as it stands, we have Kyler at quarterback. Running back, we have Barkley, Edmonds, Rojo, Kenyon Drake, Jamal Williams. At receiver, we have DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, Mecole Hardman, Rashad Bateman. And at tight end, we do have Mark Andrews. So let's go through, and I think we actually need some more wide receiver firepower on this team. And I know a lot of people are going to hate this selection, but this is essentially just me going out and saying, you know what? We're just trying to get a piece of one of the pass happiest offenses in the entire NFL. We're trying to get a guy that's going to be on a very efficient offense at the same time. Now, this is going to be a best ball league, so we don't have to determine when Cole Beasley could potentially have that spike week. Instead, we can just draft him, have him slide into our starting lineup whenever he does drop a 25-point game. He slides into our starting lineup automatically. So Beasley, a wide receiver that, yes, he's a little bit scary. We don't know how many games we're going to get played this upcoming season. But I think because of the quarterback that he's attached to and the offense that he's in, we're going to be completely fine taking him there at the 13:08. Party Tulsi Sauce says, damn, Mason, you dominated this draft. Guys, I don't think I've ever not dominated a draft. I don't think we've ever made a mistake in a fantasy draft in my entire life, to be honest. I mean, are you telling me otherwise? Okay, guys, if you're a new listener of the channel, obviously, I'm just going to fill you in. That's a joke. I'm an idiot, and I make mistakes all the time. I'm an idiot. I make mistakes all the time. Understand that's a joke. Okay, at the 14:05, let's pull this up. We're going either quarterback, receiver, or tight end. We have no other options with this pick, and it looks like it's most likely going to be a QB. I'm sorry, it's most likely going to be a wide receiver, because the only quarterback that we're seeing here is going to be a Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's just too much receiver value on the board. Okay, so Patriot has a quarterback, 4 running backs, 6 receivers, and 2 tight ends. He goes Rashad Penny here. Yeah, so this is the 14th round. I think we can wait until the 15th to get a quarterback. I'm trying to think. Since a lot of our receivers are more speculative, like a McCole Hardman or Rashad Bateman or Cole Beasley, I think we do want to get another guy. We're going to get someone that's playing a ton of snaps. We're going to get Jacoby Myers, potentially the wide receiver 1 for New England. You really have to hope that you're actually going to have Mac Jones coming in sooner rather than later when you do go through and when you draft a Jacoby Myers, because the problem with Myers is this is going to be a wide receiver that if Cam Newton's in there is going to be playing in an offense that's not scoring a lot of points, because with Cam Newton, yes, he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's not going to turn the ball over that much, but he's also going to soak up so many of the fantasy points himself with vulturing touchdowns at the goal line and also not necessarily having a ton of passing volume. So we're hoping that Mac Jones is going to get in the game, because with the Mac Jones, you're never going to be expecting Mac Jones to really steal anything on the ground with his legs. So yeah, we're hoping Mac Jones gets in here quite early, and we're going to go with a Jacoby Myers at the 1405. Ted says, Mason, you sound like me. Ted, I'm so happy for you, my man. You sound like a sexy beast all the time. God, a grown man, Ted, out here. Congrats, Ted. Congrats on the fantastic news that you sound like us. Congrats. Okay, so Zach Wilson at the 1408. So let's pull this up. Let me show the draft board for anybody who's just now coming in the live stream. I'm trying to figure out that Zach Wilson selection because that's definitely ahead of ADP. So let's see if he has a lot of New York Jets on this team or something, because I guess he does have a Corey Davis. Outside of that, I really don't see any reason to be going out of your way to be drafting a Zach Wilson. I think Wilson could have potentially fallen to the 15th round. I mean, you actually did have, for whatever reason, Fitzpatrick significantly ahead of him in ADP, even though I think that Fitzpatrick's not a quarterback that you can rely on for all 16 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see that Zach Wilson selection here. I think that we probably would have preferred either going with a different quarterback, or we would have preferred just going with the receiver and then waiting until you got your quarterback coming in the next round. Okay, so Darrington Evans at the 1501. Rashad Bateman at the 1205. Okay, so what we're hoping for at this point is we're hoping that we get either a quarterback or a tight end that we only have to draft one more, and we don't necessarily feel the need to continue to pressure the position. Because I think the optimal roster construction for a league like this, when we draft a Mark Andrews in the 6th and we get a Kyler Murray in the 5th, I think we want 2 quarterbacks, we want 5 running backs, we want 2 tight ends, and that's going to leave us 9 roster spots for the receiver position, and 9 roster spots for the receiver position when we have also on the team a DeAndre Hopkins, when we have a Robert Woods, when we have a Chris Godwin. Good luck catching up with us. Good luck. I honestly think that if we even maybe miss out on a tight end or a quarterback that we are really confident in as our quarterback or tight end too, possibly we can go and triple up on one of those positions, and then we can instead roster 8 receivers in this league. So I think we have some flexibility here because we do not have a single hole on this roster. We do not have a single hole in this roster. And usually, guys, if you're new to the live stream, usually I'm just sitting here and I'm laughing at my own team and going, my God, I'm stupid. This is what I could have done better. But this is one of the rare instances where I'm sitting here and I'm just drooling at what we have created. Okay, so let's see where Senior Skittles decides to go here at the 1507. And also, guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream, fix your life. Go down there and drop that like. Now, there are 2 players I really want here. I think when we already kind of make the bet on the New York Giants offense by taking a Saquon Barkley, maybe we just double down with a Daniel Jones. The thing is, I think even if we take Cole Kmet, we're still going to feel the need to go through and draft 3 tight ends. So I don't necessarily think Cole Kmet's doing us that much in this format. So instead, I think we just go through, we draft Daniel Jones. I'm not going to be that excited about it, but it's going to be a pick I'm fine with. It's definitely between one of those 2 options. But when we get Daniel Jones in the 15th here, I mean, compared to a Derek Carr in the 16th, I think we're going to be a lot more likely to feel comfortable only rostering 2 QBs and going 3 tight ends instead. NRG Fantasy Focus says Mason takes Cole Kmet or Kirk. My man, what Kirk was I going to be taking? What Kirk is on the board? Oh, Christian Kirk. Oh, yeah, no, we've drafted a ton of Christian Kirk. I think we really wanted a quarterback there just because I think a Daniel Jones provides us enough rushing upside on the ground that we can actually just get Daniel Jones as a quarterback 2 to stack with a Kyler Murray. Because if we have a Kyler Murray there with a Daniel Jones, that's going to be someone that, that's going to be a position that's completely settled. Now, I understand the appeal of a Christian Kirk here, but I think honestly the play was going to be down between either Daniel Jones or Cole Kmet. Connor says, I know you're never supposed to watch training camp closely. My man, you are supposed to watch training camp closely. You just have to make sure that you're capable of tuning out the noise and instead focusing in on what matters. But let's read the rest of the message. And you said, but as a Pats fan, it's great to see N'Keal Harry popping off in camp. Hope he can break the trend. Connor, I'm going to have to tell you that you in particular, you should not be watching training camp closely. You should not be watching training camp at all if the conclusion that you come away with the 2021 training camp is that N'Keal Harry is popping off and that we need to be going and rooting for N'Keal Harry. Okay, so now here, I think that it's clear we get Christian Kirk. I'm surprised that by bringing up his name, he didn't automatically go off the board, but this is a wide receiver that we're pairing with Kyler Murray. We're pairing with DeAndre Hopkins. We're fully betting in on this Arizona Cardinals passing attack. So yeah, let's go get Christian Kirk there. That is going to be our 8th wide receiver. So I think with our last 2 picks, we are going to be going through and we are going to be drafting exclusively tight ends. So yeah, it's definitely something that I want to be on the lookout for. It's just kind of what happens when we wait this long to get tight ends. And I'll say that because we have an Andrews, I'm fine waiting this long. I think that getting 3 of them with a Mark Andrews, I don't want to say it's overkill because our next 2 are going to be disgusting, but it's more than enough. Okay, so Tevin Coleman at the 1606. Okay, so Taylor says, Mason, how would you rate my draft? I am Steelers fan. Okay, my man, let's go and let's look at Steelers fan and what he was able to pull off in this draft. Okay, Steelers fan, he drafted from the 104. Okay, so Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, an interesting start. I think I agree with you in that when you start receiver, you're definitely going to need to go with the running back in the 3rd round. Okay, this is very intriguing. You get 3 running backs that I'm a pretty big fan of. You get DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne. You get DJ Chark, obviously a slight drop with the finger injury that we're on the lookout for. You get a stack with a Russell Wilson as well. I'm actually very surprised with how you were able to manage this draft after going through and going receiver. But I agree with you. I think that once you have a Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, they're all off the board, all these running backs. I can't take a J.K. Dobbins, Carson, or DeAndre Swift over DK Metcalf. So I think I actually really agree with what you did here in the 1st and 2nd round. Then you hammer in those running backs. You get another receiver. You get the stack. Hollywood Brown, you took him over Waddle, Jarvis. I'm fine with it. You go through, you get Higbee, Ruggs, Connor's fantastic value. There's your running back 4. This is a great team, man. I'll say I'm not in love with Fitzmagic, but I think if you're going to draft him, this is significantly behind his ADP. So yeah, I think if we were ever going to draft Fitzmagic, that's kind of the range to do so. So I really love your team. How many tight ends? You have 2 tight ends. You have how many running backs? 5 running backs. Yeah, that's a fantastic squad, man. Okay, so now let's prepare for where we are going to be going with our next pick. And we only have one option. We only have one position we can even be looking at. Let's pull up the tight end position here. Okay, so the teams ahead of us, Steelers fan has 2, Fully Loaded has 2, Lost Camp has 3, Senior Skittles has 2. So maybe we actually get pretty much all the options that are on the board right now falling to us at the 1708. We have seen a lot of drafts that Eric Ebron does go slightly before this. I don't necessarily know why. It's not like Eric Ebron is a massive value in this range. So Kenneth Gainwell going right there. Okay, so let's see where Lost Camp decides to go. Lost Camp goes Adam Humphries. I've actually drafted Adam Humphries in a few leagues in this format just because you know he's going to be taking a significant amount of snaps out of the slot in Washington. Okay, so let's see where Senior Skittles goes. Okay, come on. Okay, he goes Van Jefferson. So our reverse psychology got pulled off. We got Eric Ebron. This is exactly what we were wanting. Get Eric Ebron in here as our tight end 2. Now, trust me, guys, I understand that with an Eric Ebron, this is a tight end that, yes, Pat Freiermuth is coming into the situation. He was just drafted in the 2nd round out of Penn State. But if you look at Freiermuth, he doesn't necessarily look like someone who's going to be running a lot of routes in the early part of his NFL career. And we know that tight ends historically don't get that much playing time as rookies. Eric Ebron, while yes, he was drafted in 2014, this is someone that he was 20 years old when he was drafted. So he's still extremely young. I believe Eric Ebron is going to be about 28 this upcoming season. So I really like Eric Ebron here in pretty much the second to last round. So yeah, I'm going to be a fan of that selection. Nate says, LOL, he wants Ebron. I told you, you're not slick. My man, I know. Obviously, I wanted Eric Ebron. I just didn't want to kind of hype up Eric Ebron 2 picks before us, and then all of a sudden Eric Ebron goes off the board. We had to do a little sleight of hand there. Okay, so now I think we just get one more tight end and we're done with it. And also, guys, our draft for the next one is either going to be a $5, $50, or $100 league. It's going to be essentially down to y'all. Y'all are going to tell me what the size of the league y'all want it to be. Okay. So Patriot 125. He has 2 tight ends. He has Logan Thomas, Anthony Ferguson. So there's a decent chance he goes and gets another tight end. So he gets Giovanni Bernard. I'll say Patriot, my man, I do not like your draft at all. I think when you go through and yeah, I think this was a poor draft that we were looking at right here. I think when you take an Allen, I don't know if I like coming away with 3 quarterbacks. Okay, we just need to hurry up and draft the tight end. Oh my God, I'm going to time out. We're going to take Zach Ertz here. So Zach Ertz, yes, he got a positive little beat coming out of him out of camp in Philadelphia right now. I'm not too concerned with what we had in terms of, I don't want to be raising Zach Ertz up our rankings that much at all. But as a speculative player, when we needed a tight end to round out this draft, I am fine getting a Zach Ertz at the 1805. Now let's go through and let me show y'all the top of the board. Let me show y'all the bottom of the board as well. And I know a lot of people are spamming in the live chat right now what size league that they want between a 5, 50, or 100. But guys, Jayan pointed that out to us. We have a very useful tool on YouTube. It's called the poll tool. So I'm just going to ask y'all which draft, and y'all can go through. Y'all can vote on it. We'll do okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 2 options here. Okay, so listen closely. Okay, so we're going to do 2 options. We're going to do a $5 or a high stakes one. We're going to do a $5 or a 50 or 100. If the 50 or 100 option wins, then we'll do a second poll determining between the 2. So we're going to do a very low stakes option, and we're going to do a high stakes option at the same time so people can know what they're voting on. Because I don't want to do a 5, 50, or 100, and then the half of the high stakes votes go to 50, half the high stakes votes go to 100. So we're going to go through and we're going to ask this poll because I see some people saying 5, some people saying 50, some people saying 100. Let's go through. Y'all already saw the draft board, so we don't need to look too much of that. I just sent out that link over there to the poll in the live chat. So make sure y'all go through and vote on what y'all are wanting. This is going to be a pure democracy. Whatever y'all want, we're going to get. Whatever wins 50-50. That's going to be the next league. And then guys, if you don't know, all I do is I just send out a link to a private draft in the YouTube live chat. So a lot of questions that I get literally throughout the entire day is, Mason, I love the streams. How can I get in a draft with you? Okay, I thought we've explained this a million times, but I'll explain it yet again. If you want to get in a draft with us, there are a couple steps to it. A, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Get our 2021 draft guide. Get our 2021 rankings. Get paid $25 to do it because this is where we're going to be drafting at the same time. B, you need to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell next to the subscribe button so you know when we're live and you can come out to these drafts. And C, you need to be looking in the live chat for moments like this where I'm telling you I'm going to be sending out a link to join a new league. Okay, so now let's go through and let's end this poll, see what ended up winning. It looks like the $5 may have won. Now, I will say, guys, we're going to either do a $50 or a $100 draft no matter what. It's going to determine what the order of the drafts are going to be. So right now, we got a $5 winner. So right now, we're going to go through, we're going to set up a $5 league, and then later on in the live stream, we'll be setting up either a $50 or a $100 draft determined by y'all and what y'all vote on. So let's go through and let's set this $5 draft up. I'm going to send a private link out in the chat. It's just going to say, this is our $5 draft. It's only going to be available to the subscribers of the channel. Okay. So let me go through. Let me send this out. $5 draft here. And I will show y'all. Let's switch over and I'll tell y'all when I send it over. And we'll see how fast it fills. Okay, I just pressed the button to send out, and now you're going to see it fill right here. So this is just to let y'all know that y'all need to sign up for Underdog Fantasy right now, because if you try to sign up when we send out that link, you're going to have absolutely no shot to get in. It's already filled about 5 seconds after we send that link out. Okay, so hopefully we get the 101, but I guess we get the 102. I'm completely fine with the 102. I'm actually excited with the 102. I think that obviously the 101 is by far and away the best pick that you can have this year. Locking in Christian McCaffrey is going to give you such an advantage over the rest of the field, but a Dalvin Cook is going to be very similar, where I am completely fine with the Dalvin Cook as well. Okay. And I realized that... Okay, so never mind. We're not going to focus. That's a small part on the stream. And also, we hit 300 likes on the live stream. Thank you, everybody, going down there and dropping that like. Okay, so this is going to be a fun draft. This is going to be a fun draft. Okay, so I'm assuming, let's go through and let's kind of map out how this draft is going to go. So I'm assuming at the 102, we're getting Dalvin Cook. Obviously, that's going to happen. Then at the 211, we're going to be in a range where we're essentially only going to be looking at receivers, possibly one running back that has sometimes fallen to the 211. But the majority of the time, it's just going to be receivers, or possibly we're looking at a tight end. Literally, that's it. We're not going to be looking at QB. The majority of the time, we're not going to get a running back that we like falling. The best running back available will be like a DeAndre Swift, and we can't take a DeAndre Swift over an A.J. Brown or a DK Metcalf. So, yeah, let's see what we get at the 211, but it's probably going to be like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. Then we can get down here. I don't want to talk about these picks because this gets a little more volatile where we can actually see some new movement. So, yeah, we're going to kind of keep our lips shut about 4, 5, 6. But obviously, we know what's going to happen in 1, 2, 3 when you do enough of these drafts. Spack says you already know what time it is. Okay, guys. Spack somehow got in this draft yet again. So here you're going to see Antonio Gibson go at the 107. This happens literally every draft. Do not think this is what you should be doing. Spack is a madman. You should not be looking at his drafts thinking that that is a board you need to be following. This is wild. This is a real money league, and you have Antonio Gibson going over Ezekiel Elliott. Another reason why y'all need to use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You need to come out to these live streams with us. You need to make sure you're subscribed to the channel, so you can come out and you can steal Spack's money that he decides to donate to the league pot every single draft. Okay. So Aaron Jones at the 110. Aaron Jones, I really do like the value at the 110. Barkley at the 111. I would prefer Barkley over Aaron Jones. It is what it is. It is interesting to see Barkley just continuing to fall after getting activated from the PUP. Guys, I know that the report said he could be out until week 3, but that's not a guarantee right now. I mean, Barkley could be back by week 1. We just don't know. Okay. So an Austin Eckler at the 112. Joe Black says, first time with you guys. I've enjoyed listening to you. My man, thank you for joining the vlog. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Guys, have we hit 28,000 subscribers yet? Let me go through. Let me grab my phone real quick so we can check. Let me check how many subscribers we have. Y'all know this is something that I have to do. Okay. Sadly, we have not hit 28,000 subscribers. Let's try to fix that. Drop a like on this live stream so we can get recommended to some new people so we can hit that 28,000 mark tonight. Okay, so J.K. Dobbins goes at the 206. Najee Harris at the 205. Like I said, guys, Spack, he goes Gibson and J.K. Dobbins in every single draft. My God, it's going to be like, imagine how much we're going to have to just deal with it next season if Antonio Gibson ends up being a top 3 running back and Dobbins is a top 5 running back and Spack wins all these leagues. Can you imagine him in the live chat? I mean, I love Antonio Gibson. Nobody was higher on Antonio Gibson last year than I was. I loved him coming out of Memphis, but I honestly may be rooting against him this year. Despite me having so much Antonio Gibson in dynasty leagues, I don't know if I want to see him do well, because if he does well, we're going to get a ton of crap from Spac, whatever the hell Spac's name is. Okay, so now let's go through Joe Mixon at the 208. Okay, so now let's see the receivers that we're going to be getting. Actually, maybe we get a tight end. Maybe we get a running back. We will see. We will see. So A.J. Brown goes. So considering that we're going to have a ton of a ton of receivers that are kind of identical to the guys on the board available to us at the 302. Let's pull this up. So we're going to be picking right here. It's going to be a very easy selection for me. We're going Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't understand why CEH is falling. I know there's some training camp reports that are saying Jerick McKinnon is all of a sudden performing very well in camp. That's not taking anything away from Clyde Edwards-Helaire for me. He's a 3-down running back on the best offense in football that's 22 years old. We're going CEH. We're going CEH. We can possibly get Kittle in the third. We can get any of these wide receivers in the third as well. The one position that's not going to be available to us at the 302 is going to be running back, because I'm not taking Swift there. So yeah, this is, oh my God, guys. I know I'm like stuttering. I'm losing my mind, but tonight we have had some fantastic starts. Some fantastic starts to these drafts. We get Dalvin, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darren Waller in this draft. And if you're new to Underdog, guys, elite tight ends are kind of deal breakers in a format like this, because you only have to roster 2 of them. So yeah, I almost considered going Waller over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I literally went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire thinking that we were going to get Kittle at the 302, but the fact that we get Waller is ridiculous. How are y'all letting this happen? Okay, so Keenan Allen at the 305, Swift at the 304. So Scantron, literally the exact same start that we had from Steelers fan at the 104 in the last draft. He goes Adams, Metcalf, DeAndre Swift. I want to continue to track this team right here at the 104. But now we're definitely going to need to go. We're going to need to get some wide receiver hammers in rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. And usually, I honestly really like some of these running backs that fall to rounds 4 and 5, to be completely honest. Tyfer says, where are you comfortable drafting Terry McLaurin? Y'all know I've been on the train calling Terry McLaurin overrated in fantasy for about a month now. He is finally becoming properly rated. Okay, let me say that, because whenever we were calling Terry McLaurin one of the worst picks in fantasy drafts, he was going before CeeDee Lamb. He was going before Keenan Allen. He was going before Allen Robinson. He was going before Robert Woods. Now sometimes you see him go after Robert Woods. So he has fallen considerably since we started calling him drastically overrated. So everybody that was giving me so much hate for saying that Terry McLaurin shouldn't be considered over CeeDee Lamb, where is the hate now? Where is the hate right now? I'll say that Terry McLaurin in the late third, once we already have A-Rob, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb all off the board, I'm fine if you want to take Terry McLaurin in this range. If you want to take him at the 308, 309, 310, I'm fine with it. My problem was when he was going in this range over here. That was my problem. Troy says, you like Waller over Kittle? Yes, because the opportunity in Las Vegas is going to be ridiculous. The only other players they have targets to get are going to be Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. So just Darren Waller is going to come out, and you know that he's going to possibly lead the NFL in target percentage for his offense at the tight end position. And chasing that volume is going to be very, very useful for fantasy. Whereas if we're talking dynasty fantasy football, if we're talking pure talent, I think I actually like George Kittle a little bit more. But if we're talking about someone that I think is going to score more fantasy points, and y'all know I'm all about scoring fantasy points. I'm not about trying to say, this player's more talented. Yeah, Nick Chubb is better than Aaron Jones, but that doesn't mean Nick Chubb's going to score more fantasy points than Aaron Jones. So yeah, if we're going for fantasy points, we're getting Darren Waller. Okay. So now let's switch this over real quick. Let's pull back up this draft board. We're at the 411. Jamar Chase definitely falling. And a big thing is Jamar Chase, very similar to Terry McLaurin. We actually had him in the very overrated wide receiver video a couple weeks ago. And I've had a lot of people reaching out to us going, Mason, did you see Jamar Chase? He's not performing well in camp. The beat reporters are saying that he's not as good as they once thought. Guys, that honestly doesn't mean too much to me. Yes, I don't want to say that we can run around, take a victory lap for Jamar Chase. It's going to be one of those scenarios where Jamar Chase, where he was going higher than this earlier in fantasy, If he falls to a range, like if we can get him at the beginning of the 5th, then yeah, we're probably going to be drafting Ja'Marr Chase, even though I said he was overrated when he was going before then. But beat reporters, they don't necessarily want me to change my evaluation whatsoever. If they're just telling me a talent level of a player. Now we're going to draft T. Higgins here, but it's not because what some beat reporter in Cincinnati said. It's because we've always had T. Higgins over Ja'Marr Chase throughout the entire process this season. So we're going to go with T. Higgins. If Chase makes it back to us at the 502, I'm fine going with a Ja'Marr Chase, despite what the beat reporters are saying. Do not listen to a beat reporter tell you, oh, this player's been destroying camp, or, oh, this player's been really failing. That means nothing. If a reporter tells you, hey, Michael Carter, he's running with the ones, he opened up camp and he's taking snaps with the first team offense, then all of a sudden we have to drastically change our rankings because we're viewing this player in a completely different light. But don't be saying, oh, okay, well, this beat reporter said he looks good, or this beat reporter said he looks bad. Now we need to be changing our rankings. No, I'm not doing that at all. I'm kind of just sticking my rankings there. And if his price changes in drafts, maybe we start drafting him. Okay. So after getting Higgins, I really want to get ETN here. I don't like any of these receivers. Our receiver that we would draft would be Adam Thielen. But I'm not a massive fan of Adam Thielen. So we're going to get a Travis Etienne. And I think when we take Etienne at the 502, we're most likely going to be just able to go through and only draft 4 running backs in this build. And then we can have some extra roster spots for the receiver position. We're only going to have to have 2 tight ends in this build as well with Darren Waller. So we're saving a lot of roster spots for receiver where we can throw some late round dart throws at guys like KJ Hamler, try to capture some spike weeks given the best ball format. So yeah, it's going to be a close call for me there with a Travis Etienne at the 502, but I'm just not dying to get any of those receivers. And I know a lot of people are screaming, but Mason, Daryl Henderson was available. And if we knew today that Daryl Henderson was going into the season with the depth chart that he had on his roster, and you told me that, I would, of course, drafted Daryl Henderson. I would have drafted him at the 411. I would have drafted Daryl Henderson significantly higher than this. But my problem is I am worried that if you look at the team investment made into the running back room there, that there's no way that they go into this season with just those running backs on their roster. So I'm expecting them to go sign someone. And if they sign someone, if they go trade for someone, I think that does impact Henderson's value. So I think at this point, we prefer taking the more talented running back in a Travis Etienne. Okay. Highlight says, so how do you make money if these $5 drafts are just mock drafts? These are not mock drafts, my dudes. I am saying to use them as mock drafts, but no, these are like, I can show you the buy-ins before we start the next draft. If you go to join a draft, you'll see the buy-ins. I mean, these are real money leagues. First place gets a prize. Second place gets a prize. Third place gets a prize. You think I'd be going through and spending this much money in drafts if it wasn't for prizes? No, we're going through and we're getting this many drafts going because I'm confident in our ability to go through and crush. Let me know what y'all think of that Travis Etienne selection at the 502. I know we're going very heavy on running back in this build. I understand that, guys, but I'm very excited about this team. Terry says, you don't still take 3 tight ends. If Waller gets hurt and you only have 1 tight end, then you are losing some big points. My man, if my 3rd round pick gets hurt in a format like this, I'm expecting to lose the league. It's that simple. I think that we're going to be having just too many points being bled from our lineup on a week-to-week basis if we draft 3 tight ends instead of using that extra spot at receiver. So no, we're only drafting 2 tight ends when you take a Darren Waller at the 302. That's kind of the entire point of taking a Darren Waller at the 302. Guys, and if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, go down there, drop a like. We are about to pass 29,000 subscribers tonight. So if you drop a like, it recommends us to some new listeners. That can help us hit that goal. So make sure you're going down there, hitting that like button, and also sending up a prayer that we get some wide receivers that we like falling to us at the 6th, 7th turn. I can tell you right now, the receivers are going to be ugly. The receivers are going to be bad. Okay, so let's pull this up. I guess they're not that bad. I mean, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut until we're on the clock though. Okay, I was going to say, do we have to take a Kareem Hunt here? It would have been ridiculous. Yeah, I don't think we could have done it. Okay, so we have Cortland Sutton going at the 608. I do not agree with the Sutton pick. There are multiple other wide receivers that I would prefer having over a Cortland Sutton. Okay, so Scantron goes with a Tyler Boyd. Let's see where Kathate decides to go. He really needs wide receiver as well. He's gone with Allen, Alvin Kamara, Daryl Henderson, A.J. Brown, and George Kittle. So his wide receiver room's a little bit better that he has A.J. Brown compared to R.T. Higgins. So he goes there. So now at the 6-11, all these wide receivers on the board have red flags about them. I think that with the DJ Chark, we already have him in enough leagues where the finger injury pushes him down slightly. So instead of taking a Chark, we're probably just going to go with another injured player in a Kenny Golladay. So yeah, let's go with a Kenny Golladay right here as our second wide receiver. Has the same bye week as T. Higgins, which of course, that's what we're going to be going for. So yeah, let's get Kenny Golladay. Okay, so Michael Gallup at the 701. And I believe now we go DJ Chark. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, but Mason, just grab Deebo Samuel. Just grab Deebo Samuel. No, I can't get Samuel, guys. I mean, with the Deebo Samuel, I think that he is a significantly worse receiver than a DJ Chark. At the same time, I mean, with the DJ Chark, this is a player that I think fits the skill set of Trevor Lawrence quite nicely. Where in the case of a Deebo Samuel, I think he's the exact opposite of a receiver for a Trey Lance. Because we know based on Trey Lance in college and based on his overall skill set with a strong arm and with the ability to kind of move around in the pocket and extend plays, quarterbacks like that never check the ball down. Look at Josh Allen and tell me how many checkdowns he has to the running backs this past year. And I know Deebo Samuel's not a running back, but if you look at his average depth of target over the past 2 seasons, Deebo Samuel has a lower average depth of target than a lot of running backs in the NFL. He gets exclusively used across the line of scrimmage, which is great if you're playing in an offense with a Drew Brees, which is great if you're playing in an offense where you have that stationary quarterback that's not going to be able to go through, extend plays. And instead, if his first option isn't there, his second option isn't there, then he's going to have to look to check the ball down. But no, in a case of a Trey Lance, it's a complete opposite situation where Lance, we know that what he's going to be looking to do instead, if his first option isn't there, if his second option isn't there, instead of all of a sudden as a last resort checking it down to Deebo Samuel, he can tuck it and run and he can pick up the first down that way. So I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. Okay, so Deebo Samuel's still falling here. I don't think we can take a Chase Edmonds at the 702 just because, I mean, guys, we already invested so much in a running back with Dalvin, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Travis Etienne. So I really think we need to try to catch up on receiver. If we only had to start 2 receivers in this format, I think we continue to punt the position. But we need to start 3 receivers each and every week. Okay, Football Fan says Golladay and Chark are awful picks. Thank you, my man. Hearts up, my man. Okay, so Deebo Samuel falls all the way to the 7-11. Yeah, I just can't consider that. But can we look at... God dang, you have SPAC out here taking A.J. Dillon again here, this time at the 707. I mean, you could have got him at the 806. You could have drafted him at the 806, no problem. We are about to pass 400 likes on the live stream. Thank you for everybody that's gone down there and dropped that like so far. Okay, Dallas Goedert at the 801. Okay, while we are going through and having to wait just a little bit for our next pick, let me remind everyone, guys, there's nothing that you can do that supports this channel more than going through and with our first sponsorship ever. Y'all know that I've never been someone to come out here and just give y'all ads on ads and ads and ads. No, we waited so long to officially get our first partnership, and that was because I was looking for the perfect fit for this audience, and that is Underdog Fantasy. And with Underdog Fantasy, if you opt in drafts with me, maybe you do some drafts on your own and you deposit $10, they're going to pay you $25 on top of it. So if you've ever wondered, oh man, I bet Mason has the best gig ever. He gets paid to go through and do fantasy football drafts. That's his job. If you want your job to be a fantasy football drafter for at least one night, go through, deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. They'll pay you $25 to go through and draft. And you'll also get my 2021 rankings, my 2021 tiers, as well as my entire 2021 draft guide, hundreds of pages of information. I would argue like a $75 value at the minimum. So you're essentially getting paid $100 if you count the draft guide, if you count the $25 that they're giving you on top of it, to make a $10 deposit, and nothing helps this channel more. So please, guys, make sure you're taking advantage of the offer that we have with Underdog Fantasy. Okay. So now let's switch over real quick. Let's look at what receivers we're going to be looking at, because we most likely have to go receiver here, guys. Because Higgins, Golladay, Chark, they're not going to get the job done for us. So I think Jarvis Landry, honestly, probably an easy pick here, as well as Darnell Mooney. I think that we go with a Rashad Bateman over Darnell Mooney almost every single time. But the problem is just with the overall injury to Rashad Bateman, I think he drops just enough for us to decide to go Darnell over him. Let me kind of stall here real quick and try to guess what receivers are going to be available to us in the next round. So I think in the next round, we'll probably be looking at the Rondale Moore range. And at running back, we'll probably be looking at the just say Gus Edwards range. So, okay, I forgot that we didn't have back-to-back picks. Never mind. I guess Darnell Mooney's gone. I guess we can't get Darnell Mooney. Is this the first draft we ever draft Raheem Mostert? If we were ever going to draft Mostert, it would be on a team where we do have Travis Etienne, because you want to make sure that the production's lining up in the correct order. I think I prefer Ronald Jones straight up over Mostert, but the thing is, he has an ADP an entire round after. We're going to go Mostert. This will be the only team that I think I ever draft him on, mainly just because we're getting him in the 9th round. I think in the 9th round, we're fine with it, just making a bet on the overall offense. I do not like the player. I think Trey Sermon is a significantly better running back, hence why you have Trey Sermon going at the 606 compared to Raheem Mostert at the 902. So Ronald Jones, I almost wanted to go with Rojo over him, but like I said, to diversify a little bit, when we go through and when we're going to do 250 of these fantasy drafts leading up until the year, if we're drafting Ronald Jones, who has an ADP around after Raheem Mostert every single time over Mostert, we are going to, instead of ending up with Rojo in about, just say 12% of our leagues, we're going to have 24% Ronald Jones, and I don't want that. Okay, so once we draft Raheem, we're done at running back. We're 4 running backs in, and we are done. So I think pretty much the thesis here is the wide receivers weren't going to be that far of a tier drop-off for us. And I will say, guys, I would have 100%, if we did not draft Travis Etienne on this team already, I would have taken a James Robinson. But a big problem is we already had Dalvin Cook, Travis Etienne, both on week 7 buys. And if we would have taken a James Robinson there as well, we would have had 3 out of our 4 running backs with the same bye week. And I don't necessarily think we can turn around and then go through and just ignore that. We'll probably have to draft the 5th running back, which I don't want to be penciled in to do in this draft. So I think instead, if we just go through, we get Mostert, it'll be fine for diversification purposes. Okay. We are about to pass 400 likes on the live stream. Thank you, my dudes. That's absolutely massive. Now, Russell Gage here at the 911. And let's see if we pass 29,000 subscribers on this channel yet. Hopefully we hit 29K. We're inching closer. We're 25 subscribers away from 29,000. It's happening this live stream. You'll be here for it. Just make sure you drop that like. Rondale Moore goes to the 912. We're kind of hoping that we were going to see a Rondale Moore fall back to us in the end of the 10th. I actually thought that it was possibly going to be likely once you had all these tight ends and running backs going here as well. David coming out with a $5 donation. David, thank you so much, my man. I really do appreciate it. With an interesting sticker, guys. For sticker donations, does YouTube go through and just give y'all those stickers as options when you make a donation? Or is it more so that you have a sticker that you can send through one, if that makes sense? Like if you find a sticker somewhere else online. Maybe I don't make any sense at all, but I'm sure that somebody knows what I'm talking about. Devonta Parker at the 1003, one of our most drafted wide receivers. Marvin Jones at the 1004. We could still potentially get 5 running backs just because we're going to save that roster spot on tight end. Okay, so now let's go through and see this. Max says, I did a draft on Yahoo in a casual league. It was crazy to take Gage at the last pick. They have him ranked at almost 200. Guys, this is why you draft on Underdog Fantasy. This is why you go through and you become a much better drafter on Underdog Fantasy, because you'll be able to identify that as soon as you go play on a Yahoo league and go, okay, these people playing on Yahoo have no idea what they're doing no idea what they're doing. And you can go through and you can take advantage of them. That's too easy. Okay, so Tannehill goes. Chi-Town behind us already has a quarterback. So I think that we don't risk it anyway. So Stafford is going to be ranked clearly ahead of Travis Etienne for me. But when we already have, Stafford's going to be ranked clearly ahead of Trevor Lawrence for me. But we already have DJ Chark and Travis Etienne on this team. So I think we might as well want to go out there and we want to get that stack with the Jacksonville Jaguars because, it's going to be very strange to see that. Maybe not. There's no world that Travis Etienne and DJ Chark pay off the picks where we selected them without Trevor Lawrence being good. And we're still going to get our second quarterback here. Gus Edwards is really good value. Henry Ruggs, possibly we get our wide receiver 5. I'm just thinking for a second. No, I think Stafford's going to be too good to pass up on. We don't have any stacks, but I think if we get Stafford also, we can potentially be done at QB. I think getting Lawrence and Stafford, we're fine at quarterback. And then we can just go through and maybe spend an extra spot on receiver. Okay, so Henry Ruggs at the 1103. Maybe Ruggs would have been better. Because I'm thinking about it, sure, we're done at quarterback. Well, we can be done at quarterback, but do we want to? Is it optimal to have only 2 quarterbacks when you pass on the elite tier and guys like Kyler Murray? So maybe that was a bad call to go through and make that string of picks in a Lawrence and a Stafford. Maybe we should have gone with a Lawrence and a Ruggs. I think it was more so I was just excited to see Stafford fall than anything. So Justin Fields goes at the 1105. That could have been a mistake. That could have been one of our clear mistakes in the draft. Okay, David says, best live content, my man. Thank you. Thank you so much. I truly do appreciate it, my man. Flash says, Bears really like Darnell Mooney. Will be their number 1 wide receiver after Allen Robinson leaves next year. That is not going to happen. Next year, yes, Allen Robinson has the potential to leave, but at the same time, there are going to be a ton of intriguing wide receiver free agents where I can almost guarantee you, I would make the bet with anybody right now. If you wanted to give me even odds, I would make the bet for any amount of money that you want. Darnell Mooney does not lead the Chicago Bears in targets in 2022. It ain't happening. An undersized, tall field stretching wide receiver that was drafted in the 5th round last year. I understand that he was impressive his rookie season. I know that he put up a big game against Jalen Ramsey, and yes, he made Jalen Ramsey look silly. That was a 1-game sample. I know a lot of people want to just look at that and scream into the air, but still, I think that if you're making a bet that Darnell Mooney is going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears in 2022, it's going to be a very, very bad bet. Jeremy says, fun fact, you have Henderson listed twice in your draft guide, ranked at 50 and 138. My man, thank you for letting me know that. And guys, if you have yet to get our draft guide, okay, real quick, can we have the chat real quick? If you have gotten our 2021 draft guide from using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, can you spam in the chat real quick to kind of show how many people have gotten this draft guide? Because I have sent it out to, I don't know how many people by now. So I'm assuming that there's at least like 100 people in this live chat that have gotten the draft guide. So if you have yet to get the guide, make sure you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy with a $10 deposit. So essentially, you're just playing in a $10 fantasy league. You're getting paid $25 to do it. I'm saying, hey, go play in a $10 fantasy league over here. They have $10 buy-ins. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. I don't know. It's going to depend on how good of a drafter you are. But if you play in a $10 fantasy league over here, I'll give you my draft guide. I'll pay you $25 on top of it. And I'll give you all my rankings and stuff for 2021. I know it sounds ridiculous, but look at the chat right now. Okay, so let's go through seeing how many people got the draft guide. Mazzy, Tyler, Jeremy, Mrell, Mazzy, Mark, Luke, JN, Dominic, Sadiq, Devin, Conley, Andrew. Derek says he hasn't gotten it. My man, use promo code FLOCK. Go get our 2021 draft guide. But yeah, thank you, my dudes, for, of course, all coming out to the live stream. I truly, truly do appreciate it. And let's go through. Let me show the top of the draft for anybody who has just gotten in here. Okay, so at 2, we went Dalvin Cook. At 23, we went Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then in the 3rd, we got Darren Waller. In the 4th, T. Higgins. And the 5th, Travis Etienne. And then we were desperate for some receivers here. So we go Galladay, Chark, Jarvis, Hate Raheem Mostert, but he never falls to the 9th round, so we kind of have to take him here. A lot of the times you actually see him going in the 7th. Then we get a Lawrence in the 10th. We get a Stafford in the 11th. I think that we honestly kind of regret the Stafford pick. While I love Matthew Stafford, I think for this build, the Henry Ruggs may have made a little bit more sense. But it is what it is. Let's pull this back up. And we're done with running back. I think that unless we do see a really good running back value. Maybe we go running back. Oh, this sucks. The problem is our receivers are just so weak. So we have 6 rounds left. So we can go 1 more running back, 1 more tight end, 4 more receivers. Jamal Williams is such a good value here. Am I overthinking this? Do we just need to suck it up and draft a receiver? We're overthinking it. I think we need to suck it up and we need to draft a receiver. We're going to go draft Jalen Reagor. I don't necessarily love him. He doesn't have the same bye week as any of our other guys. We get him 8 picks behind his ADP, and y'all know when I'm drafting this many leagues, we have to draft some players we don't like. So we're going to go to Jalen Reagor here if we are going to be drafting him at all at a massive value. Yeah, Mark knows that I want Jamal Williams. I wanted Williams. Okay, Jonnu Smith goes. Okay, Jonnu Smith, definitely someone that needs to be rising with the injury to Hunter Henry. So it is intriguing to see Jonnu Smith go at the 12-12 here because that's significantly ahead of ADP. Jamal Williams goes, so we're no longer going to be tempted with a Jamal Williams. So here, tight end, a Gronk, Anthony Firkser. We're not going to go. We're just essentially looking at a receiver. And we're going to draft someone we have drafted over and over and over and over and over again. Cole Beasley. The thesis behind it, this is a receiver that is playing in a part of the most potent offense in the NFL. I don't think Beasley's especially talented himself. I think Josh Allen is a hell of a quarterback. I think they are going to have 4 receivers on the field a ton. I think Beasley is the perfect type of player that you want in a best ball league. So yeah, just because we can expect him to get some spike weeks and we kind of need a receiver in this range, I would definitely prefer having like a Terrace Marshall or a Nelson Aguilar or a Jacoby Myers who went in round 12. But here I think we have to draft Cole Beasley in back-to-back drafts because we got him in the last one as well. Okay, Derek says, I used the promo code and got the $25 bonus and still haven't gotten the draft guide. My man, Derek, shoot me the DM on either Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Patreon. Shoot me a DM and say, Mason, I used promo code FLOCK. This is the email that I used it with, so I can go out there and confirm it. And then I'll get you that 2021 draft guide, my man. Please make sure you do that ASAP because if you use promo code FLOCK, I want to get you that draft guide as soon as possible. And if you go shoot me that DM right now, I promise you I'll go through and I'll confirm it tonight and I will get you the draft guide after the stream immediately, my man. We go through and we check those DMs on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, like maybe every other hour, like maybe 10, 15 times a day. I'm always on there sending out draft guides. Nate says, you could be wasting hella 13 rounders. Yes, my man, I completely understand that. I am right there with you. Dank Meme says, Aaron Jones or Saquon Barkley. We're going to go with Saquon Barkley. I mean, with Barkley, he has the receiving upside not many running backs possess. And I think that he's going to see a higher overall share of his backfield compared to Aaron Jones. And we know he's getting every touch at the goal line. So we're going to go with Saquon Barkley. Okay, so Anthony Firkser there at the 13-10. Okay, so Cole Kmet. Okay, so we have some more tight ends going off the draft board. We're honestly fine with tight ends going. Now, yes, we would have liked to get someone that we can confidently rely on. But when we drafted Darren Waller in the 3rd, I mean, very similar to drafting a Mahomes, a Travis Kelce, you essentially give yourself such a high floor and ceiling combination at that one position where you can literally just wait until the last round to get that other guy. Like, we are going to be fine with that. Josh says, put your Instagram on public. You will get so many more followers. I don't necessarily care about getting that many more followers on Instagram, my man. I'm fine, completely fine with people a part of the flock wanting to follow me on Instagram. So, of course, I accept anybody who asks me to follow, but it's not like I'm trying to go out here and become an Instagram influencer or anything. Okay, so Devin Singletary at the 13-12, Sammy Watkins at the 14-01. This is massive value with Singletary. I mean, I think Singletary is way better than the receivers in this range. If I was drafting a running back, like if we didn't have at the very top of this board Dalvin Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Etienne, Raheem Mostert, we probably would have considered Devin Singletary over Cole Beasley to start the 13th round. I probably would have drafted Devin Singletary, to be honest. Tristan says, what's the site called? My man, this is Underdog Fantasy, the best place to get ready for your 2021 fantasy football drafts. I just sent the link out in the live chat. Use promo code FLOCK on a $10 deposit. You get our 2021 rankings. You get our 2021 draft guide. You help the channel more than you could ever believe. And if we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, our live stream last night got 10,000 views. We're live streaming every single night, so that should be completely possible. If we have enough people wanting to support the channel, then we're going to be doing a 24-hour live stream. I'm going to be flying people out a part of the flock to Tampa, Florida to go to a Bucs game with me, where I'm going to be wearing the flock mascot costume. And we're going to be going to that game, recording the entire thing, having a flock Florida meetup after. So yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. Just please make sure you're supporting the show. That way I can get all that done, because Underdog said that they would sponsor the event if we hit 10,000 Underdog signups. Okay, so John Brown, Christian Kirk, Zach Ertz. Okay, so let's pull this back up. Okay, Brian coming out with a massive donation, says, love your content and energy, bro. Let's effing go, the flock. Yes, sir, my man. Thank you so much for being a part of the flock. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really, really do appreciate it. Now let's pull up where we're going to be going at the 14-11. Running back, it is what it is. I don't think we're necessarily excited about looking running back in this range. I think we're continuing to go receiver, tight end. We have 4 more rounds. We have 14, 15, 16, 17. Actually, we have 5 more rounds. 5 more rounds. So we're going to go Paris Campbell. Obviously, Campbell has to dip down slightly given the injury to Carson Wentz, but Paris Campbell is actually a receiver that I really was onto at the beginning of the offseason when he was going about 4 to 6 rounds after Michael Pittman. We were screaming that Paris Campbell was by far and away the better value. Now, their price has gotten a little bit closer to the point where I don't think we need to spend that much time talking about it. But yeah, we are going to be going with Paris Campbell, as we definitely need another receiver on this team. Robert says, sounds like a flocking good time. Yes, sir. But I really need us to hit that 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy, which should be easy considering the fact that you're getting paid $25 to do it. You're getting the rankings. You're getting the draft guide. And we have this massive goal that we're working to. So if you enjoy these live streams at all, while of course I appreciate all the donations in the stream, and I mean, that's a great way to show me how much you're enjoying it. The number one way to show me how much y'all are enjoying the streams is by using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, because they are the reason that these streams are happening. And we're going to get a tight end that I am all about drafting this year, chasing that volume. While yes, he disappointed owners a ton last season, we are going to be getting Austin Hooper. I wasn't drafting him in fantasy last year, but I think if you're looking at an Austin Hooper, this is now a tight end that does represent a value, and that a lot of people are just looking at Harrison Bryant being there, who got some work his rookie year coming out of Miami in the 2020 class. They're looking at David Njoku being in Cleveland another season, but they are failing to realize that the receiving options in this offense are very limited, with really only Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. So I think we're actually going to see a ton of 2 tight end sets for the Cleveland Browns. And I think Hooper's going to get a significant amount of targets. Okay, so Nate says, damn, I have to give you something. The grind is real. Form all the activity in Patreon and all these Underdog drafts and all the vids too. Congrats for 30K and the sponsorship. Thank you so much, my man. If you appreciate the grind, I'm telling you, like, guys, you simply don't know. There's nothing that helps this channel more. There's a reason that I waited so long. We waited so long. You have no idea how many companies that I met with wanting to form a partnership with us. And every single one I told, honestly, no, I don't think it fits the audience. I don't want to be going through and promoting this. But with Underdog Fantasy, it was a no-brainer. I reached out to them. Like, I wanted this partnership so bad, because I think especially what we came with in that they are sponsoring our draft guide, and that y'all get the draft guide by signing up. I think there's literally no better partnership for this channel. So I want this to go well. Trust me, guys. Trust me. Okay. Steven says, been offered Aaron Jones for Austin Eckler, straight up risk/reward. Personally, I have them ranked back-to-back in our rankings. I prefer Aaron Jones. So take that with what you will. So Daniel Jones falling past Derek Carr and Zach Wilson. I actually think, given the rushing potential that you have from a Daniel Jones, given the fact that he gets Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Saquon Barkley all added into the offense, while yes, the offensive line looks horrendous, I think that Daniel Jones there at the 15-12 is fantastic value. I mean, I'm kind of all in on buying Daniel Jones. Can't necessarily tell me that Saquon Barkley is a first-round pick. Then you also have a Kenny Golladay up there in drafts. You also have a player like a first-round rookie coming in Kadarius Toney. Can't tell me all of that is happening, and Daniel Jones can rack up 30, 40 rushing yards a game, and he's not going to be valuable in fantasy. Joel says, does underdog fantasy not work in Canada? No, sir, it does work in Canada. I have heard from people signing up in Canada that it takes, I believe, a little bit longer to verify your identity. I'm sure so many people are tired of hearing me talk about this, so I'm going to shut up very quickly. But Underdog Fantasy, since they're paying you $25 when you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they have to make sure that you're a real person, because you can't be creating a bunch of spam accounts with little memes on it and stealing a bunch of money from them. No, they have to confirm that you're a real person. So it's going to take a couple minutes to get verified. It took me about 5 minutes. I've heard a lot of other people in the chat said it took them no time at all. But I've actually heard some people from Canada said that it took them a little bit of time, and possibly you actually have to shoot a DM to customer support. And I think that gets it done for you like that. But yeah, that's just in Canada. I know that they really don't do it in Europe. Underdog Fantasy is not there yet. And if you're in Europe, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so Hunter says, who have you picked in this draft? I'll go up and I'll show the draft board after we pick these guys on the turn. So we're going to go through. I think we're done at running back. I mean, we have a Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Etienne, Raheem Mostert. We're probably going to get one more running back. So I'm just thinking. So at receiver, I think we've caught up enough. And if we are going to commit to a build where we only need 2 tight ends and possibly 2 quarterbacks, I think we can't afford to draft another running back. So let's just get an Xavier Jones here. Kind of as a hedge, because y'all know I've been fading a Daryl Henderson because I'm worried that Daryl Henderson's going to get competition added to his backfield. And if that happens, I mean, if that does not happen, we're going to lose a lot of money. But if I pick up Xavier Jones for free in some spots, that will hurt a little less. So let's get Henderson on this team. Let's get Jones on this team. And now with our next pick here, we're done at running back. I think we can really only look at possibly a quarterback if we're going to add anything to this build. I think, honestly, I probably don't want to go QB, though. So let's look. If we were going to go receiver here, realistically, with Randall Cobb being added into this situation, I'd probably go with the Byron Pringle. But what are the chances Byron Pringle actually makes a significant difference on this roster compared to a Deshaun Watson? And a receiver that we can get at the end, I think is going to be similar to Pringle. So I think we go with an 8. We're going to go with an 8 receiver build here. We're going to go with Deshaun Watson as our third quarterback. While, yes, that could easily be a wasted pick, at the same time, it could be a pick that wins us the league. So, yeah, we're going to go Watson as our third quarterback, and our last pick is going to be a receiver. So let me go through and let me highlight this team so far. So we took a Dalvin, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first and second round, Darren Waller in the third, T. Higgins in the fourth, Etienne in the fifth. Then we have Golladay, Chark, Jarvis trying to catch up on those receivers. Mostert, who I really don't like, and I do not advise drafting. And the majority of the time you see him go in the 7th round. We end up taking him in the 9th just because he fell to a point where we really couldn't pass up on him. James Robinson would have been intriguing with that selection, but the problem is we already had 2 running backs with the week 7 bye. We were going to go slim running back, and we had Travis Etienne on this team. So I really didn't want to go with a James Robinson with this specific build. Then we go Lawrence, Stafford, Rager, Beasley, Campbell, Austin Hooper, Xavier Jones, and Deshaun Watson in the 17th round. Okay, Tyler says, do you look heavy into strength of schedule when drafting quarterbacks? It's really going to matter when the strength of schedule is, because I think a lot of quarterbacks that you're going to be drafting, the price is a little bit already baked in, because what you can really do is you can look at Vegas odds. But what I actually like to do if we're going to be streaming quarterbacks, like if you miss out on those top elite options, I definitely want to make sure we're going out of our way and we're looking at strength of schedule at the beginning of the season, because I think that's going to be key in trying to highlight those players that you could actually kind of pick up for really cheap and then possibly flip whenever we get to the point where their schedule is going to get a little harder. Ethan says, Mason, what do you think the odds are that Deshaun Watson is the top 10 quarterback? Literally, it's the same exact odds as does Deshaun Watson play. Because if Watson plays, then he's going to be a quarterback that is in the top 10 easily. Watson led the NFL in almost every passing statistic last year. And he was throwing to the combination of Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks. And keep in mind, Will Fuller missed about 6 games. Brandon Cooks missed some time as well. And then Randall Cobb. And then if he's going to be playing this year, he would most likely get traded, possibly to Philadelphia, possibly to Miami, possibly to Denver. I'm not saying any of those scenarios are likely, but if you are saying that he's going to play, he's going to be in a better situation than what he was in last year. And last year, he was an elite quarterback in fantasy, just like the year prior, just like the year prior, just like the year before that. So yeah, Deshaun Watson, the chances that he is a top 10 quarterback, literally the exact same chances that he plays. Okay, and guys, we are about 12 subscribers away from 29,000. So if you have yet to go down there and hit that like button to help us get recommended to some new listeners, what are you doing? Go down there, help us out. Let me go to the top of the board real quick just to show everybody what happened earlier on. Then we can go through, look at the middle, go to the bottom, and now let's try to find the last receiver that we are going to be drafting. So if we go through and we pull up the receiver position, like I said, Allen Lazard definitely would be intriguing before the Randall Cobb signing. But with Cobb coming in, I think we have to push him down our board slightly. And then we also go through, we look at the stack potentials that we could possibly have. Watson, don't want to be really looking into whatsoever. Stafford in LA, maybe we want to go with Van Jefferson. With a player like Trevor Lawrence, maybe we want to go with a Colin Johnson. I think a Colin Johnson, though, at this point would honestly be a pretty big reach, even though I will say, guys, I had psychology with Colin Johnson, which is pretty damn cool. So Justin Jackson at the 1808. Malcolm Brown at the 1809. Kathate, let's see where he goes. And let's try to find our next pick. I really want to go with Kadarius Toney here. If we're looking for someone with spike weeks, I think Toney's probably the play. We have Galladay. I don't know if that makes us any more or less likely to draft Toney. Van Jefferson goes. Van Jefferson would have been the other player I'm considering. I don't know if we go with Deshaun Jackson because actually I know we're not going to Deshaun Jackson. He's 34 years old, a receiver that's not going to play any games. And when he does, he's playing on an offense that's so crowded. Let's just get Kadarius Toney in here as our last receiver. It's going to be a build that I really, really like. Okay, so let's go through. Let's show off the bottom of the board now. And let me go through and let's set up a new draft. Okay, I'm going to be asking the live chat what y'all want between a $50 and a $100 league. Okay, so let's go through. And Ryan says, Mason, I keep clicking the link to try to join draft, but it brings me to the Underdog homepage. Yes, sir, that link that gets sent out on the automated message in the live chat, that's for people to get set up with Underdog Fantasy because, like I said, it takes them a minute to verify their identity and to approve their account. That way they can play with us. And now I'm about to send out the link for the real league. And I always specify and go, this is the $50 league, or this is the $5 league, or this is the $100 league. So now we're not going to do a $5 poll option this time. It's either going to be a 50 or 100. And then we will go through and then we will go and do either a $5 or a $50 after this based on what y'all want. But this one is going to be either a 50 or 100. I know a lot of people are in here saying 100. Okay, I'm also going to add an option I'm just going to watch. Okay, Joel says promo code SOCK, right, Mason? Yes, sir. Hey, yes, sir. That's right. Okay, so we just sent that poll out there, so let me know what y'all are wanting, and then I will go through, I'll set that up, and I will specify in the chat with what we are going to be doing. Okay, let me go through. I'm literally just going to give y'all 1 second. I'm just getting to the homepage to create a league. Then we're going to, okay, let's go through. Let's end this draft. Okay, so Ethan in the chat says Mason is a sleeper at the 310. Mason's lasting till the 310 in your league. That's honestly kind of offensive. Okay, so it looks like the $100 league won it. So we're going to be doing a $100 fantasy draft. So I'm not going to be able to check the draft as much because this is going to be stressful. This is going to be a $100 draft, my dudes. Let's create a league. I'm going to send out the link in the live chat for anybody wanting to join. And if you want to get in a league, the $100 leagues feel a little slower. I mean, if you want to get in a $5 league, you're going to have to be extremely fast pressing that join button. In a $100 league, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get in because a lot of people are going to be kind of out with this price range. So we're sending this out right now. Okay, so we just sent that out and we'll switch over. See how fast this fills? I'm assuming that it fills a lot slower. Okay, so halfway. And we got 6 more spots, 4 more spots, 3 more spots, 2 more spots. Okay. Only 1 more spot. Okay, we got some big boys in this league. Let's get this $100 draft going. Come on, give me the 101. The 101, 101, 101, 101. The 106. It is what it is. It is what it is. I blame that one on y'all, to be completely honest. I think if we would have had enough positive vibes out here with y'all dropping likes in the live stream, we probably would have gotten that 101, to be completely honest. I'm joking. Y'all are... Okay, and we are 7 subscribers away from 29,000. We are currently at 28,993. So we're hitting 29,000 subscribers in this live stream, in this $100 draft. Let's get it going. Jeremy says, I got the 112. It's lit. I'm sorry, my man. Sorry you get the 112. Bailey says, okay, so guys, if y'all hit enter into the league and it didn't let you in, I'm sorry. It was most likely just full before you were able to get in. That's what it was. That's what it was. I'm really sorry. Okay, so now let's pull this board up because I want to see who's going to be drafting with us. Okay, so we got a regular here, Putt Life, not in a lot of these drafts. We got Raw out here for the first time in a very long time. We got Mason D drafting right next to us. Okay, what is this? We got Mason's Basement Secret. Is that what this is at the 107? Girthquake out here. My man, guys, Girthquake is the one who made the sign behind us. Happy to have him out in the draft. We got Rugger, Party Till She's Hot, Chi-Town, Flugel. Okay, so I think we got a lot of regulars in this draft. That is scary. I'd rather have some new people in the $100 league. Derrick Henry goes to the 105. Okay, because of the drafts that we did yesterday, we got a lot of Ezekiel Elliott, and I honestly think that the build through the rest of the draft looked really nice. I'm trying to convince myself to take a Kelsey, but the problem is if we're going to be wanting a Sanders in the 4th, it's going to be a little bit of a reach. So we're going to go with an Ezekiel Elliott because I don't think Travis Etienne or Josh Jacobs fall to us in the 5th. So we're going to go with Zeke at the 106. We're going Zeke at the 106. Okay, so Matt Enigma says take Kelsey. Kelsey would have been my pick if we did not decide to take Ezekiel Elliott. That would have been my pick. Okay. So can someone tell me who named themselves Mason's Basement Secret? I'm assuming that that's what it is. Maybe I'm an idiot. Yeah, Swizz out here asking that same thing. Who just took Aaron Jones out here? Let's figure it out in the live chat. Let's figure it out. Okay, so Aaron Jones goes at the 107. Okay, so not who I would have taken. I probably would have preferred getting a Travis Kelce. I understand wanting an Aaron Jones, someone that's been a back-to-back top 5 running back over the past 2 years. Girthquake ends up going with Barkley, who we ended up taking, I believe, at the 10. Actually, we took him at the 108 in a live draft earlier tonight. Now Travis Kelce at the 109. Tyreek Hill at the 110. Sir Dilly says, hey, Mason, am I too late to join a draft? No, sir. We'll most likely be doing another draft after this. With the amount of people that we have in here, we'll do another draft after this. I'm not even going to say if we hit so many likes because everybody in here has already smashed the like button. Y'all showed so much support this stream. We're doing another draft after this. And we'll vote if y'all want a $5 or $50 league. Because we already did a $100 league, I don't necessarily want to be getting 2 $100 drafts off in a row. That's going to be... That would be way too hard. That would be way too hard on my bankroll. So we'll go either a $5 or a $50 league, whatever y'all want next. Okay, so Eckler at the 112. Gibson at the 201. Oh, what I would have done to see SPAC come out here in a $100 league and take Antonio Gibson at the 101. Oh, that would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful. It would have been nice for us getting a player that we like falling down to us. I'll tell you that for sure. Okay, this is going to be stressful here at the 101. I'm sorry, at the 106. This is a $100 league, my dudes. This is a big, big deal. Okay, so let's look at where we are going to be going. I don't think we want Waller in this range, to be honest, especially when we just got Waller in the 3rd in the last draft. We don't want a quarterback, so we're just going running back or receiver. Okay, Girthquake up. He took Barkley in the 1st. Okay, Noam says, hey, Mason, whenever I try to deposit, it goes to PayPal for a second. Okay, guys, I'll say if y'all have any problems trying to use promo code FLOCK or trying to do any kind of deposit on Underdog, please make sure you ask their customer support. I've heard of a few people having problems, and JN actually told us in the chat that he had a problem a couple nights ago, and he reached out to their customer support, and they got back to him right away, and he said that they fixed it like that. So I definitely say reach out to them. I'm not going to be able to do that much about it. What I'm going to be able to do here, though, is start this draft off in a similar way that we started off a draft another night and going with the combination of Ezekiel Elliott and Joe Mixon at the 106, the 207. I'm really going to like that pairing in that you're just getting an insane amount of guaranteed touches. And I had the funniest comment ever in one of our YouTube videos the other day. It was whenever we went through and we talked about the Joe Mixon ranking, and someone said, Mason, just ask Fantasy Analyst X how being high on Joe Mixon goes for you. I mean, Joe Mixon failed us last year. Joe Mixon, you bet on the talent, and he never lives up to it. There's no worse, and listen to me, there's nothing, no worse piece of analysis on the planet than saying, we liked this player last year, he let us down, we can't draft him again. Can we kind of take a step back and understand that situations change season to season? Can we take a step back and understand that Joe Mixon last year went from playing in a backfield with Giovanni Bernard, playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in football, playing with a rookie year quarterback, then suffering an injury halfway through, to now he is the feature running back only competing for touches with Travion Williams and Samaje Perine in that backfield. Giovanni Bernard's gone. The offensive line gets improved. They bring in Jamar Chase, who should make it where the opposing defenses can't stack the boxes like they did last year, and Joe Burrow going into year 2. So yeah, we're going to get Mixon there at the 207. Tyler says, fully loaded here. Next draft on me. Look forward to competing with you through these best ball drafts this season. Keep up the great work, my dude. Thank you so much for coming out here with the support, my man. Next draft is on you. I got you. We can go wild. We can go wild to the next draft. Okay, so George Kittle falls all the way to the 305. I would have loved to see Kittle fall to us. So did Woods go? Woods goes at the 304. I really thought we were coming away with Robert Woods. I guess we go Allen Robinson. Y'all know that I am all aboard the train that you need to be drafting Allen Robinson over Terry McLaurin, despite what anybody else tells you. We're going to be going with Robinson. This is a player that's been a top 10 receiver with the combination of Blake Bortles, Mitchell Trubisky, and Nick Foles throughout his NFL career. Now he is getting the combination of Andy Dalton and Justin Fields coming in. I would argue both probably the best quarterbacks that Allen Robinson's ever played with. So yeah, we're getting A-Rob at the 306. Highlight says, I used your code on Underdog Fantasy. What do I do now? My man, first off, thank you for supporting the channel. Nothing supports this channel more. You're helping us get to the goal of getting Underdog to sponsor that event where we're able to fly people out to Tampa, Florida. We're able to go to that Bucs game. We're able to host that Flock meetup, and we're able to make that really fun video out of it. So thank you for that. Just shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Patreon, literally anywhere. You can find everything in the description of the video. And all you have to say is, Mason, listen up, you bum. Mason, I'm tired of your crap. Get me the draft guide. I use promo code FLOCK. You need to send me your email address. That way I can confirm that you did. And then I'll send it to that same email address right after I confirm. You do that right now. I'm 100% going to be getting you that draft guide right after the stream tonight. And at the same time, you can do that anytime. You can do that a week from now. You can do that 2 weeks from now. You can do that 3 weeks from now. I'm going to be going through, I'm going to be checking Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, everything religiously. That way I don't miss a DM, and every single person that uses that code and that wants that draft guide gets it. Okay. So David Montgomery goes at the 310 here. Devin says, wow, next draft is $100. My man, this draft is $100. This is a $100 league where you have Girthquake going with Mahomes at the 308. Okay, so it looks like Girthquake probably going to be behind the 8 ball at receiver here. It's going to be very hard to catch up on receiver. Ooh, this is going to be interesting, though. I want to follow this team. Like I said, guys, Girthquake has done so much for us. Y'all see the sign behind us? That was Girthquake. That was a Girthquake, a member of the flock for a while now. So, of course, thank you, my man, for completely turning our setup upside down. Mr. Hackman says, I think this is a half-point PPR. Yes, sir. This is a half-point PPR, and we have something developing here. We have Chi-Town True coming out, receiver, 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 receiver. I think that when you go 3 straight receivers, you have to draft Chris Carson. I mean, they're kind of banking that they have a Myles Gaskin. They're banking that they have a Mike Davis falling to them here at the 5-6 turn. I don't know how comfortable you can be in saying that. I think that we really wanted to see a running back after you go 3 receivers. I would actually way prefer you to go. I mean, I think the play here was to go Dobbins over Mike Evans and then try to make a bet that you either get Mike Evans or Godwin falling to you in the 4th. Imagine this team if they would have gone Diggs, Ridley, Dobbins, Carson. I would have loved that start. I think that would have been very balanced. Now, if you can pull it off, congrats. It's going to be hard, though. It's going to be very difficult. Okay, so now let's switch this over to the 407. And we have some intriguing players that are going to be coming to us in this range. Okay, let's see where Mason's basement secret decides to go. I wish I had a basement. If I had a basement, I'd have a secret in the basement. I'll tell you that. Sadly, we live in a top story of the apartment complex. So sadly, I don't have a basement. But Cooper Kupp goes. Okay, so that sucks. I really wanted Cooper Kupp. So now we're going to most likely get Julio Jones. So very little to say. Julio Jones, he was a top 10 wide receiver if you look at the games that he actually played in fully. If you look at the games where you remove where he played less than 50% of the snaps, the production was in line with what we had over the past 3 years, going to an offense with an incredibly efficient quarterback. Yes, he's going to be the second receiving option on his team, but we're going to be going with Julio Jones there at the 407. We have a couple donations coming out. Says Zach, Eric or DJ Moore in 2021, DJ Moore, Ayuk or DJ Moore in Dynasty, DJ Moore. Okay, so with DJ Moore, man, I know that he was slightly disappointing last year and that you had the same type of volume for both Moore and Robbie Anderson. But the thing is with Moore, if you go back and we just look back on how he was viewed after his second season in the NFL, I mean, he came into that 2018 NFL class and he was a fantastic prospect. Get selected in the first round out of Maryland. And hey, guys, I will brag that my first year at the University of Texas, DJ Moore actually came over. He wiped the floor with us. Literally opening game of the season. DJ Moore put on a show, and literally my friends knew how much I was into football, and they go, hey, what's up with this Moore guy? Is he any good? I was like, no, I've never heard of this guy on the planet. He's never going to be anything. I was like, this is just embarrassing on our part. And then, of course, DJ Moore comes out and just turns into a fantastic NFL prospect. He was hyper productive in the second half of his rookie season. The second year was the massive leap that you saw from DJ Moore. In last offseason in Dynasty, DJ Moore was viewed very similar to how we're viewing A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf now. And he has a slightly disappointing year with a new head coach, with Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterback. Now you have a Curtis Samuel leaving. I actually really want to be all about DJ Moore in both Dynasty and Redraft. I prefer Moore in both, to be honest. Okay, so the 506, y'all know we are not drafting Kyle Pitts. That's not what we're about on this channel. Okay, so Lamar Jackson goes at the 505. We are stuck in a bad range where I think we have to go with another receiver. Guys, this is a league where you have to start 3 receivers. I think we get a receiver. There are a couple of running backs that could be interesting if they fall back to us in the middle of the 6th. Maybe we grab a tight end in the middle of the 6th. But we're going to go with the Deontay Johnson, someone that I'm not in love with. And I'll say with the Deontay, actually, first let me get Alejandro. Alejandro had a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, is there much of a difference between underdog and sleeper? Haven't been able to catch an underdog stream. Sign is coming soon. Sorry for the wait. And guys, yes, Alejandro is making us another sign for the studio. So just to fill everybody in that's in this live stream right now. So the plan for the studio that's going to continue to get upgraded is Girthquake in the chat is making us an official underdog sign for the studio, which is going to be fantastic. And Alejandro is making us a wooden sign for the logo of the channel, which I've yet to be able to see, but I am so excited to finally be able to see it. And what we're going to do is that tree that's kind of behind us for filler right now, that's going to be moved. And on this wall, it kind of curves out. And we're going to have the logo of both Underdog and the Flock Network. So the studio is going to continue to get improved, my man. And Alejandro says, is there much of a difference between Underdog and Sleeper? A big thing is with Sleeper, there are a couple problems in my opinion. If you're going to be drafting on there to prepare, their ADP is so screwed up in that they host so many different leagues where they go through and they go, okay, we're doing 2021 drafts, we're doing dynasty drafts. They really have no identity with what they are at the moment, where you never want to be using them for ADP. And at the same time, that's going to be a platform where you can't handle any of the dues through them, where what's so nice about Underdog is if you're playing on Sleeper, you have to have 11 other guys that you're starting a league with. Whereas on Underdog, you can go into a lobby and you can join a lobby with 11 other players and they handle the buy-ins, they handle the payouts, so you don't have to worry about that at all. So I think that there's a reason, guys, trust me, that we signed with Underdog for this upcoming year. And that's because I think Underdog is by far and away the superior platform for 2021 fantasy football leagues. So yeah, that's going to be the main difference for me, my man. Jan says, I hate Tom Herman, Maryland, twice, Mason. My man, I'm sure that Jan remembers that. I'm sure that Jan remembers that game. Brian says, I like Underdog better, but I've had fun on Sleeper. Yeah, the thing is just if you're playing in 2021 leagues, you want to be on Underdog. Underdog has so many pros for it. And also, I love how they updated the draft board. I think the draft board looks significantly better. And guys, we're about to pass 500 likes in the live stream. We're about to pass 29,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you have not dropped a like, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. It'll help us out so much. Let's pull up this draft board real quick. Okay, so we have a very balanced start so far where we have started off with Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, and then we went 3 wide receivers in a row where we got Allen Robinson, Julio Jones, and Deontay Johnson. So now there are a few different ways we could go. I hate seeing Javonte Williams and Kareem Hunt go off. I actually thought we were going to be considering both running backs here at the 607 as our running back 3. But yeah, obviously we have to stay flexible. We have to make sure we're not just locking ourselves into one strategy going into the gate. Highlight says, how do I join the next draft? My man, just press the link when I send it out in the live chat. That simple. That simple. You have to be very, very fast. If it's going to be a $5 league, my man, it's going to fill up like that. It's going to fill up right away. I'll tell you that for sure. Okay, so let's see where Mason's basement secret goes. He has Aaron Jones, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, so he's building around that feature running back. He goes Dak Prescott. Okay, so y'all know I always talk about passing on the elite quarterbacks unless you have the stack. The thing is, at the 607, do we have to take Josh Allen at this point? Because if we're drafting Josh Allen, we're essentially only drafting Allen over Jerry Jeudy or Miles Sanders. We're going to go Allen. I don't like it. We have very few Josh Allen in fantasy because I haven't been in a spot where I can draft a lot of Stephon Diggs. But yeah, we're going to go Allen at the 607. This is going to allow us to only have to roster 2 quarterbacks in this league. And I don't think the opportunity cost is going to be too high. Where if we were having to take him over a Deontay Johnson, over a Kareem Hunt, a Javonte Williams, a DJ Chark, a Laviska Shenault, yes, we're not doing it. I would have actually really liked to have a Robbie Anderson fall to us. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And now let's go through and let me go back and let's put this over here so we can look at Chi-Town, where he started 4 wide receivers in a row. Diggs, Ridley, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett. He gets Hawkinson at the end of the 5th. So he went 5 rounds without grabbing his first running back. And he gets Mike Davis at the 602. So I want to continue to monitor how that team looks. Taylor says, hey, Mason, is the most recent guide on the 30th. That's the one you sent me. Yes, the only adjustment that needs to be made to the most recent guide that's been sent out today, which I told y'all guys, we are going to be making those adjustments announced on the channel. And of course, if there's a significant injury or such, and I need to go through and adjust those rankings, I'm going to make an emergency stream where you're going to know exactly what rankings get changed. We're going to go through, pull up the guide together, and I'm going to say, okay, Here, we add Chris Godwin at wide receiver 13. But if Mike Evans tears his ACL, we're going to move Chris Godwin from wide receiver 13, where this is where he is overall. This is where he is in the wide receiver rankings. We're moving up to wide receiver 7. And now here's where he is in the overall rankings, just like we did with the Jonathan Taylor. But there's one change that I'm going to need to make to the draft guide, one change I'm going to need to make to the rankings on Patreon. I think that we actually need to end up going through and moving up a player like CeeDee Lamb, given the injury that occurred to Amari Cooper. So yeah, CeeDee Lamb's going to rise up a few spots. He's going to rise up right ahead of Allen Robinson. Okay, so we're going to get Chase Edmonds as our running back 3 on this team. I really like this draft so far. I really like this draft. Let's go through. Let's switch this board over. Okay, so y'all can see the entire squad. Zeke, Mixon, A-Rob, Julio, Deontay, Josh Allen, and now Chase Edmonds as our running back 3. This is a $100 draft, my dudes. This is a serious league with real stakes on the line. And I think that it's just the most ridiculous thing ever that Chase Edmonds is going next to Damien Harris. Chase Edmonds is playing on a significantly better offense. Chase Edmonds has been a way more efficient running back through his career. Chase Edmonds is going to get targets out of the backfield where Damien Harris won't get those same targets. They're both guys that are projected to be the starters, but we're not 100% sure they're going to. And I know a lot of people want to say, but Mason, Damien Harris has no competition. Chase Edmonds has James Conner. Guys, James Conner got paid like the veteran minimum. James Conner, literally at this point, being viewed by the entire NFL as he's nothing. So don't be thinking that James Conner is some massive threat. I like James Conner in fantasy, but I also like a Ramondre Stevenson, who in my opinion is kind of a similar threat to a Damien Harris. So the fact that you're getting these guys back to back, I think that Chase Edmonds is just such a better play. Okay. So let's switch this over here so y'all are going to be able to see this side of the board. Okay, NRG Fantasy Focus says, Mason, I just did a draft on Underdog and 16 running backs went off the board in the first 2 rounds. Okay, so what is the regular baseline, my man? Let me go through. Okay, so 16 running backs went off the board in the first, so you had 8 running backs. So you had just, let's pull this up. Let's pull this up. Okay, so how many running backs went off in the first 2 rounds here? Okay, so you had 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so essentially, I guess Swift and Dobbins probably jumped up here. That is surprising. I've never seen Swift and Dobbins both go in that range. At the very, very earliest, I've seen Swift go at the 301. And I see Dobbins go in the second round, but that's only when Spack is in the league. And if Spack's in the league, I'm not counting it. Okay, so Flugel comes in and he hammers in these wide receivers afterwards. He gets a Godwin, a Chark, a LaVisca, a Devonta Smith, a Will Fuller. So we need to be on the lookout for this team right here, trying to get that Trevor Lawrence stack. Maybe we try to play some defensive stack drafting. Maybe we try to block them a little bit. Real quick, let me check if we hit 29,000 subscribers before we're on the clock. We are 6 subscribers away. Last time we checked, we only got 1 subscriber. Oh my God. I thought we were hitting it in this draft. Maybe we're not hitting it in this draft. Guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you have not dropped a like, make sure you drop a like. Help us get recommended to some new listeners. Okay, so Brandon Cooks at the 803. Okay, so let's pull this up real quick, who we're going to be looking at. So like I've said so many times before, in a regular league, Michael Thomas is a smash pick here. But in a best ball league, it's a little bit different because points matter just as much in week 1 as they do in week 14. So the fact that you're going to be missing Michael Thomas for a foreseeable amount of time definitely lowers the overall impact that he can make on your team. At some point, of course, you're going to have to consider drafting him. I don't know if we can do so here in the 8th, but let's keep him in the back of our mind. Okay, so Mason's Basement Secret is up again. And of course, tight end is slightly intriguing. We can't go with Rodgers. I think when we take a Josh Allen in the 6th, we're definitely not going to be going with an Aaron Rodgers here. Raheem Mostert, we took him in the 9th in the last round just because he kind of had to be that draft pick. So here I think it's essentially down to either a Michael Thomas, a Jalen Waddle, or an A.J. Dillon, Dallas Goedert. So Michael Thomas does go. So it's down to, do we want Waddle, Dillon, or Goddard? And I think, honestly, we probably prefer just going out of our way and getting Dallas Goedert, not necessarily because the piece that came out today about his training camp that Jalen Hurts is targeting them over and over and over again. No, it's because I like Dallas Goedert beforehand. It's because we need a tight end on this build. It's going to be a slight reach, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to make us feel a lot more comfortable with our tight end situation. where, I mean, I guess maybe the correct play is there is a Jalen Waddle. But still, I think a wide receiver on the way back is going to be similar, where a tight end on the way back, I think we're going to see a significant bump down. Brian says, Cooper just came off the PUP today. My man, thank you so much for letting me know that. Let me look that up just to make sure, because I did not see that. I have no idea how I did not see that. Let me pull this up real quick. That's embarrassing if I did not see that Amari Cooper came off the PUP. I'll say that. I'll make an excuse that way to take the dog to the vet, but let's pull this up. Okay, so he passed the physical. He's been taken off the physically unable to perform list. He's expected to ready week 1 against the Buccaneers. Okay, that is massive. Thank you for letting me know. I cannot believe we missed that. Okay, so let's move this over real quick so we don't have to deal with that. Let's look at who we're going to be trying to get with this next pick. So we really don't have to go out of our way and reach on a running back. Do we really have to do it? Mason, please, Mason D, please take Mostert here. Please take Raheem Mostert. Please take him. Please do not make me. I'm telling you right now, if you pass on him, I'm probably going to have to take him, and I do not want to. I do not like him. I've been considerably lower on him compared to consensus, especially when he was going in the 7th round. He goes Bateman. We're in the 9th round at this point. Do I just have to kind of eat it, and do I have to draft him? Back-to-back drafts. The problem is this is a $100 league. I'm fine drafting him in a $5 league when he falls to the 9th. But now we're at pick 102. His ADP is 89. We're going to do it. I hate it, but we're going to do it. And we still have to draft 5 running backs on this team. So, God, I think we ruined this. I think we ruined this $100 draft. Our team so far, Zeke, Mixon, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert at running back. At wide receiver, we have A-Rob, Julio, Deontay. At quarterback, we have Josh Allen. At tight end, we have Dallas Goedert. I hate those last 2 rounds. I think we ruined this draft. What could we have done differently? Instead of going with the Dallas Goedert, possibly we go with the Jalen Waddle. Instead of going with the Raheem Mostert, possibly go with the Ronald Jones. I prefer Rojo in a vacuum, but the thing is, when I'm doing 250 of these leagues, I feel like in some spots I'm going to have to draft the player that's a full round ahead of him in ADP. Because if I draft Ronald Jones over Raheem Mostert every single time that they're both available, I will end up with literally not a single league with Mostert. God, I hated that pick. And that honestly didn't even fit the build either. I think we really needed a wide receiver. Yeah, y'all just witnessed me butcher a $100 league. Y'all just witnessed me flush the great start through 7 rounds that we had down the drain by going Dallas Goedert, Raheem Mostert. That was horrible, but great news for y'all. I mean, y'all had to witness that. Y'all had to see how bad I am. Great news for y'all, though, is you can come and take my money in the next $100 league. If you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy today with promo code FLOCK and make a $10 deposit, they will pay you $25 on top of that. They're going to pay you $25 with a $10 deposit. You get $25 added onto your account. You also get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Hundreds of pages of information. I would argue at least worth $75. At the same time, you get access to all our rankings and tiers at the same time. If we get 10,000 signups with promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, they are sponsoring an event for us to fly people down to Tampa, Florida. Go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. And at the same time, host a Florida Flock meetup. So help us out, my dudes, because this live stream will have 10,000 views on it. Last night's live stream had 10,000 views on it. So if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you will be a key reason on why we get closer to our goal of doing that. We're going to record it all. It'll be great. Even if you aren't the person who gets to come to Tampa and go to that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, you'll still get to witness it. And if you're in Florida, you can go to that Florida Flock meetup. Okay. So Logan Thomas at the 10:01, Noah Fant at the 9:10. Okay, so the thing is, if we wanted to pass on to Dallas Goedert, I think a Noah Fant could have been intriguing there at the 9:06 where we took a Raheem Mostert. So if we would have passed on Goedert and instead, let's say Instead of going with Goddard, if we went with A.J. Dillon, instead of going with Raheem, we went with a Noah Fant. Would you rather have Goddard and Raheem, or would you rather have A.J. Dillon and Noah Fant? Because I honestly think I would probably prefer having the combination of Noah Fant and A.J. Dillon. Okay, so Kenyon Drake at the 10:04. And I think that, Mike, I know you're going to give me crap for it. Y'all know that I have been considerably lower than consensus on a Michael Pittman for I don't know how long now. But I think we potentially have to draft a Michael Pittman here if he falls. Now, I hated Michael Pittman for a multitude of reasons, but he was going 3-4 rounds before this. Not 4 rounds. He was going about 2 to 3 rounds before this just a month ago. I think we maybe just kind of take the player that's falling. I understand he's falling because of Carson Wentz. I understand he's falling because of Quentin Nelson. The problem is I don't want to go from being extremely low on Michael Pittman to having him everywhere. So Terrace Marshall goes. So when we're looking at most likely needing a receiver, I guess we could go running back, but if we were going to go running back, we'd go Connor. I don't want to take Connor and Edmonds on the same team. I'm not taking Fournette in this range. So it's either an elite quarterback, I don't want to say an elite quarterback, but we have Josh Allen. I think we go Michael Pittman. Yeah, we're going to go Pittman. I know y'all are going to give me crap for that. Y'all know how much I have hated Pittman all offseason. But we hated him when he was going significantly before this. When we were pumping out those videos saying Michael Pittman was the most overrated player in fantasy, he was going before Jerry Jeudy. He was going before Laviska Shenault. I mean, he wasn't going before Jerry Jeudy. Let me walk that back. He was going in the same range of a Jerry Jeudy, and he was consistently going before Laviska Shenault when we were calling him overrated. He was consistently going before Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault here goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5 rounds before Michael Pittman now. So even though I hated Michael Pittman when he was being drafted before Laviska, I think that we possibly have to go Pittman. Okay, so you have a Fournette, a James Conner, Robert Tonyan. Nate says you literally have Fournette over all the other running backs. You said you would draft over him in your rankings. My man, we really have to make some adjustments when we're playing in a half PPR format. Like a big thing is why we possibly have a Leonard Fournette over a James Conner in a full PPR is because Fournette does have the receiving capability to go through and pop off. Whereas in the case of a James Conner, he's a lot more appealing in a format like this is because if he can earn that goal line role in Arizona, then all of a sudden in a best ball format, he can have those spike weeks with maybe he scores 2 touchdowns any given random week. And also his lack of receiving in the offense when you have Chase Edmonds getting all the targets out of it is not necessarily going to be felt as bad in a half PPR league. So understand, guys, that those rankings that I make for Patreon as well as the draft guide, they are not rankings for Underdog. Please understand that. Okay, guys, those rankings that I'm sending out in those draft guides, I'm not sending you rankings so you can go out and dominate Underdog drafts. I'm sending you rankings for your 2021 fantasy football drafts that you're playing with your friends, that you have access to the waiver wire, that you can go through and you can actually make your own start-sit decisions. So yeah, it's a night and day difference. I mean, just going through and making small running back pivots like that, it definitely makes sense. I mean, that's like the case where I think we possibly prefer having a Clyde Edwards-Helaire in some full PPR formats over a Jonathan Taylor, whereas on Underdog, I probably prefer having Jonathan Taylor. Because if you think about it, like this is another example, is a Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley in a half PPR versus Ezekiel Elliott. Or a big reason why I love Barkley in a full PPR league is because you could end up seeing Saquon Barkley go out there and have 70 receptions on the season. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that after we probably make a pick at a quarterback spot with either Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence. I think we get Burrow considering the fact that we have a Joe Mixon. So we're kind of just making a bet on the overall offense for Cincinnati. So it's whatever. Joe Burrow's the top ADP regardless. We get Burrow. We don't have to draft another QB. But yeah, so we go back to this example. And let's just walk through the math of how significant going from a full PPR to half PPR format is. So if we are liking, just say, drafting someone like a Saquon Barkley over an Ezekiel Elliott in a full PPR format, all of a sudden we're looking at that and going, okay, well, Barkley we know has access to go out there, and we have seen him have more targets per game than Alvin Kamara. We have seen Barkley have the potential to go out and average 6 receptions a game. Whereas with Ezekiel Elliott, if you go through and you look at that same end of the spectrum, Zeke, his best seasons, I mean, I would say that a top end range of outcome for Ezekiel Elliott and how many targets and how many receptions he can see per game this year. Let's call it 3. I would say if you get 3 receptions a game for Ezekiel Elliott, you're going to be very happy. Where you can realistically see 6 from Saquon Barkley. And you go through and you see, okay, well, that's a 3 points per game difference in a full PPR format, where you go through and you go, okay, well, we're going to get 16 games this year for the fantasy football season. 16 times 3 is 48. 48 divided by 6 is 8. So maybe I just completely butchered that math, and I really hope I didn't embarrass myself. But I believe that's the difference between 8 touchdowns on the season. I should probably get my calculator out because I know I probably just embarrassed myself. So let's assume, let's all go back to this. Let's assume that Saquon Barkley averages 3 more receptions per game than Ezekiel Elliott. Let's say they play 17 games. Let's just do the full season. So 3 times 17, that's 51. So that's a difference between 51 points in a full PPR format, right? 51 points in a full PPR format. We divide that by 6. That's 8.5 touchdowns on the season. That's a massive difference in a full PPR league. You have to cut that in half, that difference that you're seeing in a half PPR format. It's a big, big, big difference, guys. Okay, so let's go through. And I made all my rankings are for full PPR. Okay, Leon says, with Dak under center in 2020, Zeke was on pace for 90 targets. Do not try to tell me about a pace where the Dallas Cowboys were breaking all NFL records in passing volume for a very small sample. That's most likely going to come down, my man. That's most likely going to come down. Okay, so Rugger 1205 right here. But yeah, that's why you saw me in this draft take Ezekiel Elliott over Saquon Barkley, because a couple other things are in play where here, if Barkley does miss a week or two, it's going to hurt you a lot more than if he does in a regular league where you really need to be scoring your points during the fantasy football playoffs. So you have to be making those small adjustments. You can't just be drafting one for one. Of course, you want to be still continuing to look at the board and understanding how you're going to be structuring a roster by going through and drafting and spacing out your running backs, receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, and understanding the flow of the draft. But those one for one players where you're going, okay, a James Conner versus a Leonard Fournette. In a full PPR format, maybe I prefer one guy. Where in a half PPR format, maybe I prefer the other. So it's not a big deal in terms of getting better at fantasy drafts, but if you really want to, I want to say maximize your return, you want to be making sure that you're taking into consideration the format the best you can. Okay, Noam says, Mason, when subscribed to a Flocker on Patreon, is an automatic chance of reviewing our fantasy lineup, or is it like an entry? No, guys, if anybody who signs up for the Fantasy Flock Patreon, if you shoot me a DM, say, hey, Mason, can you review my team? Then yeah, I make a podcast for everybody who signs up and I review their team. We're probably going to release, I think we recorded 6 or 7 podcasts today for people who recently signed up for Patreon. And if you want to know more information about that, that is in the description of the live stream. But here we're going to go Nelson Agholor. Agholor not too intriguing whatsoever in a regular format where you're submitting your starting lineup each and every week. But he's going to be on the field every single week this year. And we know with the Nelson Agholor, this is someone that's going to be seeing a lot of snaps, potentially a lot of targets. So we're going to go Agholor at the 1207. We need to get more wide receiver bodies in here. It's not a sexy pick. It's not a fun pick whatsoever. But I think Agholor is going to be the correct selection. Griffin says, hey, Chad, I just got here. Is there another draft? Yes, we're doing another draft after this one. Usually I come through and I say, if we hit 700 likes, we'll do a 4th draft tonight. No, guys, y'all have already smashed this like button beyond belief. We are about to hit 29,000 subscribers on the channel. So we're just going to be doing another draft regardless. We're going to ask the live chat what they want between a $5, a $50 league. I'm not going to do another $100 league, but big news here. We just passed 29,000 subscribers on the channel. That is massive. Thank you, everybody coming out, everybody who's supported the channel over the past few weeks with these live streams. This is massive. We're not going to stop these live streams until we get to the year. We're going to be live streaming every single night. I don't care if there's a hurricane going through Tampa, Florida. Y'all will see me sitting in this chair. You'll probably hear some wind crashing onto the window. You'll probably see me covering for shelter, but we will be live streaming fantasy football drafts. Nothing is taking us away from this preseason because I am so excited y'all can tell how much fun I'm having doing this, to be completely honest. And I want to continue to work towards the 10,000 flock signups on Underdog Fantasy, because if we hit that, they are sponsoring us to get people down here to Tampa, to go to a Bucks game with us, to record it all, to do that flock meetup. I want to make sure that we hit that so they can sponsor it. So make sure, if you have not taken advantage of our deal, where if you deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added onto your account for free. At the same time, you get our 2021 draft guide, hundreds of pages. You get our 2021 rankings. You get our 2021 tiers. And you get us one step closer to the 10,000 mark. This live stream is going to get 10,000 views. The live stream last night got 10,000 views. So don't think that it's very hard. You just need to help us get 1 inch closer. I'm talking to you right now, the person who has not used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Now, I think we go tight end, possibly in Emmanuel Sanders. The problem is I'm just kind of biased against those old guys. And I love a Gerald Everett. Y'all know I'm a massive fan of Gerald Everett attached to that elite offense, but we do have Josh Allen. I talked myself into going with Emmanuel Sanders. We have Allen here. So I think we do kind of need to go through and we need to make sure we're bringing in more wide receivers. I mean, our wide receiver room is very weak in this league. Let me go through. Let me show everybody our team so far. I honestly think we were killing this draft up until the 7th round, and I think that we kind of ruined the draft after that. So let's look at this. We went Zeke at the 106, Mixon at the 207, A-Rob, Julio, Deontay, Allen, Edmonds. I love the first 7 rounds from here. Then I think it honestly falls apart once we get to about round 8 and we select Dallas Goedert over a Jalen Waddle. And now let's view it in this light. And this is, oh my God, this shows how bad my Dallas Goedert pick is. Okay. So if we go back and we go back to the 8th round, and as soon as we made that Dallas Goedert selection, I was like, you know what? This is a pick that we hate. I made a panic pick here. We wish we could take this back with the Dallas Goedert here at this 807. I wish I could have gone with the Jalen Waddle. And the reason for this is, if we look at the 2v2 that we could have had in the 13th round, would I prefer having the combination of Dallas Goedert and Emmanuel Sanders, or would I prefer having the combination of Jalen Waddle and Evan Ingram? And I definitely would prefer Waddle and Ingram. And honestly, I don't even think it's relatively close. We messed that up. I messed it up in a $100 draft. That way you didn't have to. Oh my God. That is sad. That is sad. Q the plug says, about to sign up for my Underdog account with code FLOCK. Thank you so much, my man. I truly, truly appreciate it. Nothing helps this channel more. Ryan Fitzpatrick at the 1311. Swizzworld says, take a bill stack. Yeah, I think Swizzworld says Sanders is buzzing at camp. I understand that Sanders is buzzing at camp, but still, he's a 34-year-old wide receiver that hasn't been good in years. The main reason I'm taking him is because of the sack, because we're taking Cole Beasley in a lot of leagues because we're looking at him as a player that's going to be running a significant amount of snaps. So if we're using that same theory with the Cole Beasley, that he's going to be running a significant amount of snaps on one of the league's best passing offenses, we kind of have to be running that same theory out here with an Emmanuel Sanders, I guess. Okay, so Christian Kirk goes there at the 13-12. Kirk would have been a player I would have been intrigued in. I mean, we kind of knew that those tight ends in a Evan Ingram and a Gerald Everett, they were not going to be there whenever we got back on the clock. I mean, there's a 0% chance that those tight ends were actually going to make it back to us. Okay, Rashad Penny at the 14-01. Okay, I was told on Patreon today that Rashad Penny suffered an injury. Like I said, I had to take the dog to the vet, so I honestly didn't even have time to look up. I didn't have time to look up the Rashad Penny injury. Let me look this up real quick. Okay, Rashad Penny not practicing today. Okay, I don't see anything significant with the Rashad Penny. It's so annoying when someone puts, like, there's someone's Twitter's name. There's someone on Twitter whose name is Rashad Penny for your thoughts. So every time I look up Rashad Penny, I'll try to look at the newest tweets about Rashad Penny to see if we can try to figure out what's going on. It's just showing me this random ass dude's tweets over and over again. Oh my gosh. That's brutal. That is brutal. I can't find anything on the Rashad Penny injury. All I see is that he's not practicing again. Okay, at the 14-07, we have 2 quarterbacks. We're done at the QB position. We have 4 running backs. I'm not drafting a Damian Williams here. On this team, we have Zeke, Mixon, Edmonds, Mostert. I don't think we're probably going to go with another running back, but we don't have to reach on one. Tight end, we're going to go with an Anthony Firkser here. And I know I'm pronouncing that name horribly. I'm just double checking to make sure we don't want to go with the receiver. Yeah, we're going to go with Firkser because we're looking at a tight end room that we're most likely going to have to add 3 guys to regardless. And the more I look about that, I just hate looking at this tight end room. I butchered this draft so bad with that Dallas Goedert pick. Oh my God, that Dallas Goedert pick was brutal. Okay, so Anthony Firkser, we're going to be looking at that because Hunter Henry just suffers an injury, so we're not going to be wanting to draft. We're not going to be wanting to draft Hunter Henry in the middle of the 14th. Cole Kmet, see, we didn't really think that we were going to get the ability to have either a Firkser or Kmet falling to us in the 15th. So I think that's kind of why we take the tight end, just going, okay, well, I'm fine with whatever receiver or running back falls, but a Damian Williams goes all the way in the 14th round. That is surprising. Let me know if I've drafted Damian Williams this high before, because I think that'll be kind of crazy. So we have 4 more picks to be making, and if we look at our construction, we're most likely going to get 1 more tight end, 1 more running back, 2 more receivers. I actually like this build. It's a good build overall. I just think that we messed up this 2v2. This is what we messed up with. And if y'all are new to the stream, get ready to hear me talk about what I messed up with over and over and over again, because I really want to continue to try to improve as a drafter. Where the 2v2 that we messed up with is we don't need to be reaching for a Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is not going in a range of the draft that we want. We want to continue to go receiver here. Unless Dallas Goedert falls into the 9th round, I need to write. Okay, here's what I'm going to start doing, to be honest. I'm going to start writing down on a piece of paper my biggest takeaway from every single draft. I'm either going to make a video about it, or I'm just going to keep it on my desk. That way I don't make the same mistake. So I'm writing down on this board. Where did we draft Dallas Goedert? We're saying, do not draft Goedert before 8-9 turn. Okay, so that's our first rule on our do not do list. Okay, so hopefully we can add a couple more rules as we get a couple more drafts going. And we can come up with a solid list as we go through and as we get some more drafts under our belt. But let's see where we're going to be going with this next pick. So we have just a ton of receivers to pick from. We're not going to be looking QB. We still need 1 more tight end. See where Mason D decides to go. He needs a tight end as well. He goes to Tyrell Williams. So T.Y. Hilton does technically look like a good pick in this range. I really want to go Hooper, though. We need a T.Y. Hilton. Our receivers are just too weak. And when we take Goedert in the 9th, I think we have too much invested into Goedert to not assume that pick pays off. So our receivers are too weak. We're going to have a lot of receivers on a week 14 bye with Pittman, Aguilar, Hilton. Not the biggest deal in the world. But yeah, that was definitely going to be between a T.Y. Hilton or an Austin Hooper for us. But I think simply we were just too weak at receiver to push it off 1 more round. Raheel says, thoughts on the 4th pick? Mason, yes, sir. I'd be happy to go through and look at the 4th pick. Okay, so we go through Adams at the 104, CEH at the 209. I do really like that you're going out of your way and making sure that you're getting a running back in the 2nd here. Woods here. I think I definitely prefer going with the George Kittle. What did you do at tight end later on? You have Robert Tonyan, Jared Cook. Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at this, I think Kittle's the play, and I'm honestly not even thinking about it that much. I think Kittle's what you want to do at the 304 every single time, to be honest. I mean, if you get a wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson, a Keenan Allen, an A.J. Brown, a C.D. Lamb falling to you, then sure, you can go with that option over a George Kittle. But I think you can't be taking Woods over Kittle. And this is coming from someone who loves Robert Woods. And then Ayuk at the 409. Jacobs, Gaskin. I'm not a big fan of Gaskin, but the 609, that is great value. At the 704, Michael Gallup. You take him right over Antonio Brown, Juju, McCole Hardman. Then Rodgers at the 809. Okay, so where did the other quarterbacks in this range end up going? So you take Rodgers right before. Darnell, AJ Dillon, Marquise Brown. I think we're fine with the Rodgers pick. I don't love it, but we're fine with it. I mean, but if we're looking at Rodgers, honestly, I'm not fine with it. A Stafford would have been a much better value here. Maybe you didn't expect quarterbacks to fall this far, but I think getting a Stafford and a Tannehill at the 10-11 turn, that would have been much more ideal than what ended up happening. Yeah, so I think the main picks I don't like are going to be Rodgers here in the 8th and Woods here in the 3rd. I think you want to go Kittle. And here with Rodgers, I'm not even telling you to go with a particular position. I think you do want to be going either most likely A.J. Dillon or even possibly a Hollywood Brown or an Elijah Moore. But I just think there's really no difference between Rodgers and Stafford for me this year. I know that's going to sound crazy for a lot of people because you just had Stafford with the ridiculous touchdown rate. So, of course, he's flying up a ton of draft boards this season. But, yeah, I think that Stafford's probably going to be my play there. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at 3 positions because we are done at quarterback. Okay, Rugger is on the clock. He has 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs. He goes Jared Goff. Okay, so Girthquake, he goes Winston. Thank God we get some quarterbacks going off. And Girthquake, my man, Noah, I will say real quick, I really hate what you did here at QB, and I'll get into why in a second. We're going to go Diami Brown as our last receiver on this team. That we can, Blake Jarwin, the reports coming out of camp aren't great about Blake Jarwin. We're going to go with Diami Brown as our last receiver. And let me go back to Noah's team real quick. Actually, first, Boggood says, thoughts on my draft, Rugger. Yes, sir. Let me go through. Let me look at Girthquake. Let me look at Rugger, and then we'll get to Girthquake. Okay, so Kelsey throwing a 9, great value. Chubb, 204, I'm fine with. McLaurin, I don't like, but if you're going to take him, I think you take him at the 309, and you need a receiver here. It's not like you can go with a running back. Then DJ Moore at the 404, kind of pissed that you sniped him from us. Kareem Hunt, kind of pissed that you sniped him from us. But yeah, I think Kareem Hunt's honestly fine here because you have Kelsey, so you don't necessarily want to consider either Andrews or Hawkinson. Javonte, I really like at the 604. Hardman at the 709. Hardman's going to be a close call with these other receivers. You have yet to have a quarterback either. Maybe you want to go with a Wilson. Jarvis, Corey Davis, Kenyon Drake, Jamal. I like Kenyon Drake and Jamal. Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones. Okay, thank God you get a 3rd quarterback. I was going to say you can't go in and you have Austin Hooper here. I love what you did from a roster construction standpoint. There are a few picks that I may not necessarily agree with the players, but I think the roster construction is what matters a lot more. And that's what I really like about the team. And last team we're going to check out real quick is going to be Girthquake. Okay, so now let's go through and let's check this out where he went Barkley, Taylor with his 1st and 2nd. Not going to argue too much on that. I think here's what you did that was, in my opinion, very wrong. When you go out of your way to take Mahomes, I think if we're taking Mahomes in the 3rd round, I definitely want to be doing so on a team where we went through and we also drafted either a Travis Kelce in the 1st or a Tyreek Hill in the 1st or a Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 2nd to kind of get that stack with the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I think when you take Mahomes here, it's going to put you in just such a tough spot at receiver where you have Higgins, Anderson, Juju, Curtis Samuel, Devonta Parker, Henry Ruggs, Traquan, where you're kind of able to catch up on it. I don't think you have enough roster spots allocated to receiver, though. We're going to make our own pick here. And I just have one more point that I want to make. I just think I honestly think it's pretty important. And I think we want one more running back. And considering that our 3rd and 4th options are Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, I think we are going to be going with Philip Lindsay. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling's a little more interesting if Randall Cobb isn't coming over. So let's just get Philip Lindsay, go, okay, maybe he's someone that can eventually work his way into playing snaps. And so let's go back to Girthquake's team. And I just want to cover one more point because this is going to be very important for anybody playing on underdog. If you make the investment into a quarterback in the 3rd round here with Mahomes, you are locking yourself in based on the opportunity cost that you have by passing up on the receivers and the running backs in this range. You are locking yourself into where you can only draft 2 quarterbacks because you already have the bet made onto Mahomes to a point where if Mahomes doesn't come out and he is not your starting quarterback nearly every week, that pick was a massive, massive bust. So you need to be trying to just assume that you hit that pick and you need to be going out and trying to catch up at receiver. So when you come down here and when we see a Watson and a Winston go, I think instead of taking Winston, you definitely want to make sure you're going with the receiver. I think you want to be going with a Diami Brown, a Byron Pringle, and Alan Lazard, really any of the receivers that you like in this range. But a Jameis Winston, I think, is honestly kind of a wasted pick in this league. I know you're a little bit worried about Watson not playing, but I think what you probably should have done then is you probably should have just grabbed Zach Wilson as your second quarterback on a team with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. I think that Girthquake, my man, just to point you out and just to try to help any way I can, Underdog's a little bit different here where you have to make sure that you have your quarterback situation set up correctly. And I think this is probably suboptimal. Actually, I don't want to say probably suboptimal because there are a lot of things that I don't know for sure. But I think we can say with confidence that drafting Mahomes in the third and then following it up with drafting 2 quarterbacks afterwards, I think we can say with confidence that that is a bad play. Okay, so Tevin Coleman going right there. Keelan Cole. And what are we going to be looking at with our next round pick? Do we still need to get a third tight end? Okay, so we're looking at my team. Right now I have Allen, Joe Burrow at quarterback. At running back, we have Zeke, Mixon, Edmonds, Mostert, Lindsey. Receiver, we have A-Rob, Julio Jones, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, Nelson Aguilar, Emmanuel Sanders, T.Y. Hilton, Diami Brown. My team is not that good in this league at all. We have already cracked over 3,000 for our projected points. I don't know how. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it kind of tells you projected points don't mean that much if I really don't like this team and all of a sudden they're projecting us over 3,000. Chongbone says, is the next draft going to be a $5 or $50? I'm going to ask y'all in the live chat what y'all want to see. This draft that we just did here was a $100. Okay, so Girthquake is back up in the clock. So let me see what he had at tight end as well. Yeah, so having Kyle Pitts and Gerald Everett at tight end, I think you either just want another receiver or you want another tight end. We're going to be getting Zach Ertz here as our third option. So yeah, let me recap the board real quick. Y'all can see it, pause it, screenshot it. Then we'll get our next draft set up because y'all have showed a ridiculous amount of likes on the stream. So thank you so much for that, my dudes. We're about to pass 600 likes on the live stream. So I know we're going to hit 700 in the stream. I'm feeling it in my bones. And guys, I see y'all spamming in the chat right now for us to go through. And actually, let me recap. I just see this team, like the colors up top. Okay, here, Mason's basement secret. This is a dead team. Only at running back, Aaron Jones, Damian Harris, Ronald Jones, James White. There's no way that team makes it through the year. There's no way. Yeah, I think this is a dead team. It sucks to say. I think you can go for running backs, but if you're going for running backs, you're needing to come away with multiple guys at the top. I don't like that whatsoever. I'm sorry to say it, but it is what it is. I want to be completely honest. So let me go through. Let me get a poll out if y'all want to do a $5 or a $50 draft. Guys, you can spam it in the chat. We're not going to be going off what gets spammed in the chat. Instead, we're just going to be going off of what y'all vote on the stream. Okay, so let's go through. And I'm asking this poll in the live chat right now for y'all to go through and vote on. Of course, if you're not necessarily wanting to play, then you don't have to vote. Do not feel the need to vote. Okay, so we just sent that out. And let me go through, get ready to set it up. I'm not going to waste too much time whatsoever. And I just want to make sure that we have this set up as soon as I see the poll results. Okay, so Ethan says 1,000. My man, we tried to get a $500 league going the other night. And sadly, not enough people came out. It was extremely disappointing. Okay. So it looks like it's like 50-50. So I'm going to give it like 5 more seconds so more people can vote. Because right now it looks like it's literally 50-50 on my screen. Actually, I'm sorry. I forgot that. I see $5 is winning by... Okay, never mind. It's not 50-50. I saw $5 was the top option at 50%. And then I just assumed that was because they were at 50-50. I forgot I added the third option on there. So $5 wins. So we're going to be getting a $5 draft going. Most likely is the last draft of the night. Yeah, I'm going to say this is most likely the last draft of the night. Unless we have like an unbelievable amount of likes and new listeners coming in, then possibly we consider getting one more. But I'm going to assume that this is the last one. Okay, Jason says, are these winner take all of the 12-man leagues basically? No, these are not winner take all whatsoever. This is you win for first, you win for second, you win for third. I think it pays the top three. Pays the top three, my man. Okay, these are going to fill up very, very fast. I'm sending out the $5 draft link right now, but keep in mind, guys, while this fills in very fast, we're going to be drafting every single night leading up until the season. So if you don't get in this one, you're going to have so many chances to get in another. So we just sent that out. I will switch this over to show y'all how fast this is going to fill, just so you kind of realize if you click on the link trying to get in and it says error, it's because it's already filled. You clicked on the link once it was filled. Okay, Derek says, how close? I mean, okay, for a second, for whatever reason, I had like a little optical illusion, thought we got the 109. But anyway, Derek says, how close to 29,000? My man, I believe we hit 29,000 subscribers already on this live stream. I can double check, but I think we hit 29,000. Now, the real question is, hey, when are we hitting 30? That's the real question we have out there. Yeah, so we already passed 29,000. Of course, my man, thank you, everybody, for going down there and dropping those likes on the videos. Okay, so now let's go through, and DJ says, are all of these best ball format full season? Yes, sir. These are full season best ball leagues. So you really have to go through and just kind of literally go with the players that you think are going to be scoring the majority of the points. So let's go through and see how this draft starts. I'm going to be assuming at the 109, we're either looking at Travis Kelce, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill. That's going to be one of our picks here at the 109, almost guaranteed. Reagan says, how do you get in on the phone? The link doesn't work, my man. The link does work. It's just the problem is everybody clicks it at once. So if you are literally just 0.03 seconds slower than the next person, then you're not going to get in. And that's essentially what it is. It's just that these $5 drafts in particular, these are the ones that fill up so fast because every single person in the live chat wants in the $5 draft. Whereas in the $50 drafts, the $100 drafts, that's when you can realistically get in because, I mean, obviously in drafts like that, not everybody is trying to get in at once. Okay, so Flugel comes out here at the 107. Okay, I heard someone say the same people always get in. I will go through and I'll show you all the full board because not the same people. We have multiple new people in this draft. Okay, so Aaron Jones goes. So we're going to get Travis Kelce. I mean, we don't even really have the option to consider Barkley. I think we probably would go Kelce regardless, though, because we're looking at a Travis Kelce going, okay, well, this is a tight end that gives us a significant advantage from a roster construction standpoint, and that we only have to draft one more tight end after we do take Kelce. No Chill Bill coming out with a $29 donation says, congrats on the 29K, big dog. No, my man, thank you for being out in this live stream every single night. That is massive. Thank you. Thank you so much, my man. Okay, so let's go through and let's set all this up. Let's try to figure out where we're going to be going with this next pick. Switch this over. Okay, so at the 204, like we said at the beginning of the night, what we ended up doing at the beginning of the night is we went through and we targeted DeAndre Hopkins, particularly in the second round. That way we could try to follow through with the stack of getting that Kyler Murray pick in the 5th. So here I think we possibly do the exact same thing. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking when we're not going to be coming away with the running back through the first 2 rounds. But the problem is I think that Hopkins is such a high floor, high ceiling pick that's going to be nearly impossible to go through and not take a DeAndre Hopkins here. So yeah, we are going to be going with a DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, so let's switch this around. Cody OG123 says, the sign goes hard. Yes, sir, my man. Thank you for coming out to the live stream, of course. And yes, sir, just wait until we get to the season. Wait until we have everybody in fantasy football coming out here. We're going to have a completely new studio with more signs in here. It's only getting better. It's only getting better from here, my man. Thank you for coming out, though. Okay, so Jonathan Taylor at the 205. Okay, so Taylor probably wouldn't have even been the running back that we would have drafted. it's just so hard with the injury, not only to Wentz, but also to Quentin Nelson, because obviously Nelson is just such a large reason that offensive line does play at that elite level. So I think we probably would go Mixon. I think that in a full PPR format, I'm not even going to go there because I think they're kind of similar with the targets that they're going to see out of the backfield this year. A.J. Brown goes before DK Metcalf in this draft. That's the first time I've seen that in a very long time. This is a team that started with the Derrick Henry at the 106, so possibly they're trying to set up a stack with the Ryan Tannehill later on. Okay, so a Najee Harris at the 208 here. Okay, so Metcalf, this is literally something that we have seen, I think this is our 4th draft. I think we have seen this in 3 drafts so far tonight. Literally Adams at the 104, DK Metcalf at the 209. In the first draft that this was accomplished in, they were able to go through, get a Miles Sanders in the 4th. They were able to get a Travis Etienne in the 5th. And I forgot what running back they got in the 6th, but they were able to get 3 running backs at a pretty good value mark in the 4, 5, 6 round. So I'm going to be interested to see what Party Till She's Hot does. This is a regular out here in the live stream. He does definitely come out here and crush. But if we're looking at the new people out in the stream, we have Sean 11. We have In4C4 out in the stream as well. I believe new Kyle Soccer. He has been here before. I believe Cobra Kai is also a new member out here in one of these drafts, as well as Lobs Ballers. Maybe I am not remembering one of these names, which of course I apologize if that is the case. But yeah, I think that we actually have a decent amount of people that are new out here in this draft tonight. So don't say that you never get in. Don't say that's impossible because, I mean, we see new people in the drafts every single draft. Okay. So let's kind of pray that we get a running back falling to us here. Because obviously the start is great at receiver and tight end when we go Hopkins, Kelsey, but it's also a risky start. It's also something you have to kind of be scrambling with in the later rounds. Okay, so Flugel started running back. He started Barkley, Mixon, so possibly ends up passing on one of these guys for us. Possibly goes with the Terry McLaurin. Doc also went running back with Aaron Jones and Taylor. So I think there's a real chance that we either get one of DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins here at the 309, unless they really want to screw us at running back. Okay, so let's see where Flugel decides to go. He goes Dobbins. Okay, so he goes with this 3rd team. So maybe Doc really just because we're streaming out here, he tries to go. We just see 2 teams. Okay, so that's the price of streaming, to be completely honest. And the thing is, I can't be too upset with it. Obviously, it's my decision to go through and stream. And since this is a $5 draft, I think that we're maybe going to try something I wouldn't. If this was a $50 or $100 draft, I think maybe we reach on a Chris Carson here. But let's see how a build centered around the wide receiver position goes. Let's see if we can pull this off. We're going to go with a Terry McLaurin here at the 309. If they want to just load up on running backs, we'll let them load up on running backs. We'll see what falls to us at the 5-6 turn. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be going running back in the 4th either, because I'd imagine that David Montgomery, Chris Carson are also off the board. Okay, yeah. So I'd imagine that Chris Carson comes off the board. So we're not going to go running back here. We're probably going to be looking at getting a 3rd receiver. And if we're getting a 3rd receiver and we're starting this draft with Travis Kelce, y'all have to stick with me out here. You all have to try to figure out how this is going to play out. Now, Allen at the 401, I understand wanting to go and get the stack with the Stephon Diggs. I think that's too rich, though. I think you wait until the late 5th, early 6th. I mean, I literally got Allen at the 607 in the last draft. Okay, well, never mind. I guess we actually get our running back. I guess we do get Chris Carson. I assumed that we weren't going to. Okay, hear me out on this. Since this is a $5 draft, if this was a 50 or 100, I'm taking Carson here and I'm not thinking about it. But what we talk about all the time is using these underdog drafts to try to become a better drafter. And I think we're going to draft as if Chris Carson wasn't available to us. And we're going to start this team off how I have never seen a team get started off drafting, where we're going Kelce, Mahomes for that Kansas City Chiefs stack. And what we are going to have the potential to do here is we're going to have the potential to only draft one tight end and one quarterback beyond these two players. So now we are going to have 14 roster spots to go through and allocate them to the receiver and running back position. Now, I understand a lot of people want to be screaming that I should have gone with the Chris Carson, and I agree with you. I think the majority of the time, Carson would have been the correct pick. But this is a $5 draft, and y'all know that I'm going to be putting a ton down into these leagues. I'm going to be doing a lot of $50, a lot of $100 drafts. So I want to be a little bit comfortable in being put in a difficult spot. And I think that in a lot of leagues, if the first 3 rounds go as they went, you actually have Carson going before Mahomes. And obviously we are getting the stack with the Kelsey. If we didn't get the stack with the Kelsey, I wouldn't have even considered it. But I think it is intriguing. And I want to see how a construction where I only have to build around one depth tight end, one depth quarterback, because we are elite at the other positions. And in rounds, guys, literally look, in rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, we're only going to have to draft running back, receiver. So I think we may be able to catch up on running back. Y'all have to stick with me to the end of this draft to figure out how this ends up, because it's going to be an intriguing build. If this was like in their major tournament, like if this was Best Ball Mania, I would be so excited right now, because I would assume that very few teams have this construction that we do. Now, since this is a private room, this is a little less exciting that we have such a unique team. But at the same time, I definitely am interested to see how this plays out. And also, guys, if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, make sure you go down there. Make sure you drop a like. It helps us out so much. Okay, so we have Jamar Chase, Adam Thielen. Okay, Miles Sanders falling all the way to the 412. I love that Miles Sanders selection. I don't know if I can say the same thing about Dak Prescott. What other players were on the board here? I mean, if I was getting Miles Sanders at the 401, I would have been ecstatic. So the other players that were available is you have Ayuk. Yeah, I think you want to go with the receiver. I understand that you're getting the stack with the CD Lamb, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it's too good to pass up on. And we have consistently seen Dak Prescott actually fall to this range regardless. So I think this is very similar to the instance that we saw with a Josh Allen up here at the 401, where, I mean, look at the difference in the 3 teams that have drafted a quarterback so far to complete a stack. So you have Allen getting drafted at the 401 to complete the stack with Stephon Diggs. You have Prescott getting drafted at the 501 to complete the stack with CeeDee Lamb. And then you have Mahomes at the 404 to complete the stack with Kelsey. Maybe I'm a little biased here because I'm the one who took Mahomes, but I would go out and say that I think we got a ton of value with Mahomes and we completed a stack versus the other people who were reaching to complete a stack. So I don't necessarily like reaching to make sure we get our stacks built in. But I think the way that we were able to go about it, we naturally built one without having to kind of hurt ourselves anywhere on the roster other than running back, of course. But yeah, I think that we really like how we built that. Noam says, hey, Mason, when messaging you about reviewing my lineup, do you just need a message with the players and all the info and pictures or the exact lineup? My man, shoot me a DM on Patreon and say, hey, Mason, can you get me a podcast breakdown of my team? And I'll go through and I'll walk you through the steps for me to do it. And I'll be able to get you a podcast breakdown. Let me look at my list right now. And my God, guys, I wish this was in Best Ball Mania. I wish this was in their large tournament. Because look at this team that we have started. We're getting a Jacobs here at the 509. Look at this team that we have built. Kelsey, Hopkins, McLaurin, Mahomes, Jacobs. I don't think it gets better than that. I do not think it gets better than that whatsoever. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Thomas says, now you got to pick up Gaskin or Mike Davis. My man, I do not have to pick up Gaskin or Mike Davis now. Now we get Josh Jacobs. I bet you did not think that we were going to have Jacobs fall into us. Let's switch this over here so we can kind of see what's going on at the turn. And now I don't even know where we're going to go with our next pick because I am just over the moon with that Josh Jacobs selection. So Mike Davis goes. We have some more running backs going in this range. Llama says, could have gone with the Kyler Murray. Guys, when you get Mahomes at the 404, I don't even know if we would draft Kyler at the 6. I don't know if we could draft Kyler at the 604. I understand we get the stack with Hopkins, but we already have so much invested in Mahomes. I don't think it's worth it, to be completely honest. I think you really have to make that strong pivot once you get Mahomes. Yeah, he goes anyway, so we don't have to make the consideration. And I really thought we were going to get either a Kareem Hunt or Javonte Williams with this next pick. We don't. Instead, we're going to get an Odell Beckham Jr. While I don't necessarily love Odell in a regular league when you have to know when to start him each and every week, well, in a best ball format, you don't know when you have to start him each and every week. So whenever he has his spike weeks, he's just going to jump up into your starting lineup. And I think that now that we have Jacobs, we have those guaranteed touches locked in. So we're not necessarily in a range where we're forced to go out there and just reach on a running back that we may not necessarily like. Okay. But anyway, let me get back to the question that we had about Patreon and getting a team podcast done. Okay, so yeah, Noam, let me just check my list real quick of how many podcasts that I need to record tomorrow for certain teams. And I can tell you if I can get you a podcast breakdown out tomorrow or maybe... Okay, yeah, so I recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7 podcasts that are coming out tonight after this live stream. And then I need to record 3 more for tomorrow. I'd imagine we get a lot of DMs in the morning, so I probably need to record. If you DM me that you want a podcast breakdown right now, if you DM me that on Patreon right now, my man, I can get you a podcast breakdown of your team by tomorrow. It may be late tomorrow night, but it would happen tomorrow. Llama says, no, Met could have drafted Carson, then got the Kyler Murray stack. I completely understand what you're meaning there. I think that I prefer Mahomes, Jacobs to Kyler Carson. Let me know if I'm crazy in saying that. I don't think that I am, though. I think that I don't want to say it's an easy call, but I prefer the combination of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Jacobs to Chris Carson and Kyler Murray. But let me know what y'all are thinking. Omar says, why is Jacobs' ADP is so low? My man, do we really have to go with another Josh Jacobs rant right now? Okay, so I am kind of all aboard of the train that Josh Jacobs is right now underrated in fantasy drafts. And it sucks to say, and I look like such a damn hypocrite, and then I'm just flipping on my word, because I was screaming as loud as I could about 6 weeks, 2 months ago, so not long at all ago, that Josh Jacobs was one of the worst picks in fantasy. Because back then, you saw Josh Jacobs going up here. You were taking him. I wasn't taking him, but some people were taking him over A-Rob, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, which was the most ridiculous thing ever. But I agree with you. I think when you're getting Jacobs at the 509, when he drops 2 rounds and your question is, okay, instead of having to draft Josh Jacobs over an Allen Robinson, now you just have to draft Josh Jacobs over Odell Beckham Jr., it's a completely different opportunity cost. So I actually do think that Josh Jacobs and his ADP is a little too low. Okay, so now let's go through Michael Gallup at the 701. Michael Carter at the 702. So let me switch this over. Let's show this draft board. Okay, so we're going to be up, and I probably did this a little too early. We were up in 6 picks. But the thing is, like I said, even if we think that Russell Wilson's the best quarterback available when he comes up here at the 709, okay, he goes, so thank God. I think Party told she's hot. Yeah, he also had DK Metcalf, so that makes a lot of sense. But the thing is, we literally can't consider going with a quarterback in this range. But I think that this is kind of the point where we possibly will end up having to reach on a running back. And what sucks is a running back. Actually, we're not going to have to do it in the 7th round. In the 7th round, we're 100% going to have to go receiver. But when we come back around here in the 8th, I think we're most likely going to have to reach on a running back. But if we go through, if we look at best available running back receiver, I mean, y'all know I am all aboard the Damian Harris hate train. I mean, I am trying to drive this ADP down single-handedly, given the fact that you're looking at him having a very limited ceiling in terms of what he's going to be getting from a targets per game perspective. Okay, so Laviska Shenault at the 706. Okay, Flugel at the 707. Let's see where he decides to go. Jerry says, Mason, who do you got this year? Galladay or Laviska Shenault? God, it's so funny that Laviska Shenault has risen to this point. I love it. I love that Laviska Shenault has risen to the point where we're asking Kenny Galladay or Laviska. I still think you have to go Galladay, even though, trust me, I love Laviska Shenault, and I love that we're even talking about him in this light, but I think we have to go Galladay. And so, yeah, now that we go with a receiver, when we only have 2 options currently that I think we can confidently rely on a week-to-week basis, and then Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be that spike week player, I think we possibly just take the high floor guy in a Tyler Boyd. Obviously, he's going to be limited with the overall ceiling that you find. But, yeah, I think Tyler Boyd's actually going to be our call there. And then I think we're most likely going to need to end up going with the running back on the way back, considering the fact that we only have one option. Maybe we really try to push it because, like I said, this is a $5 draft, so we can try out some new things. We can try out some new builds. I don't want to go too crazy here. Party Till She's Hot has a similar build here where he only has one running back and he has Daryl Henderson at the 504. But the problem is you actually are going to find a lot of running backs that you like in this 8-9 turn range where I think he's going to be able to come away with possibly two guys that he's really excited about. Where I don't know if we're going to have the potential to pass on a running back here in the 8th and still get a guy that we like in the 9th. So I think that we're probably going to have to go in the 8th, a running back. Brian says, just got on that Patreon train with the flock. My man, thank you so much for joining Patreon. I wish we had like a little announcement when someone joined Patreon, like on the screen right here, like an alert. I'm not smart enough when I set up streaming to possibly tie that together. Maybe I can figure out how to do it. But yeah, let me try to look into that because that would be really cool if we were like live streaming and then it said like, oh, boom, Brian joined Patreon. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, so the 804, like I said, we're not going to be able to go quarterback or tight end. So we're most likely going to end up going with a receiver or a running back. Sir Dilly up here, he has Antonio Gibson, Javonte Williams, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Devonta Smith, and a TJ Hawkinson. So it really looks like he could end up going QB. So he goes McCole Hardman. So I think literally after talking a bunch of crap about him, we kind of have to go with the Damien Harris. Now, Damien Harris, oh my God. I hate drafting Harris. He's going to get no targets out of his backfield. He has less targets in the NFL than he has games played. But the problem is when we have a team where our only running back touches that we are getting so far is Josh Jacobs, and we took him in the 5th round, and we have Damien Harris falling to us in the 8th. I think that this is a format that we need to be taking Harris in. Now, if we had access to the waiver wire, honestly, I would probably just continue to punt running back. I'd probably take another receiver, to be completely honest. But we don't have access to the waiver wire here. So we are going to have to care a little bit more about our roster construction. We're going to have to care a little bit more about being balanced. So yeah, I think that Damien Harris is going to have to be the pick. Swizzworld says James Robinson over Damien Harris. My man, I think that James Robinson has a lot more upside because you see it in the range of outcomes where if anything were to occur to Travis Etienne, all of a sudden James Robinson does become a top 10 running back in fantasy, and Damien Harris simply doesn't have that upside. But when we have so many points that we are leading the field in with quarterback and tight end, I think we're more so looking for a floor play at running back compared to a ceiling play. So I think Harris is actually going to be the running back we're taking. I think it's a bad pick though. I think it's a bad pick. It's a bad pick in general with his price tag, but I think the construction that led to this team kind of makes us take Damien Harris. Swizz says, yikes, I hate Harris. Sony is still the guy I like there. I don't think we can say Sony Michel is going to be taking that many touches away from Damien Harris. I'll say I'm not low on Damien Harris, even though I am. I'm not low on him due to Sony Michel. But yeah, that's just a small side note. We have James Robinson going at the 808. Now, Party Till She's Hot, he does need some running backs in that he only has one. Let's see what's available currently. So he goes with an A.J. Dillon, and that's what I'm saying. Like a Dillon, I think, has way more upside than what you actually have with Damien Harris. But at the same time, if you had to make a bet on who scores more fantasy points, you probably go with Harris just because he's going to have a higher floor for touches. So when we're kind of chasing the floor of a running back, we can't necessarily afford to go with an A.J. Dillon, even though Party Till She's Hot, it was in a great range of the draft where you knew that you were going to have these running backs kind of falling to this range at the 809, where we were forced, however, to go through and draft someone a little bit earlier. But I still like this team. I still like this team a lot. Ryan says Marvin Jones over Laviska Shenault in redraft. I would bet any amount of money that Laviska Shenault scores more points this year, my man. I would 100% go with Laviska. Okay, Michaelis is saying, is Deshaun Watson playing this year? My man, if I knew the answer to that question, we would be able to make a ton of money. I mean, just imagine if you knew if Deshaun Watson was playing this year. Underdog has a tournament on it where they actually have a prize pool of $1 million where you can go through, and we're not doing any of those drafts on the live stream just because I want to make sure that we're getting all the subscribers of the channel in these drafts. And that $1 million league is actually a public league that gets filled through their lobby. So I'm not going to be drafting any of those. Maybe if we do the 24-hour live stream when we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy. Like I said, guys, we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. We're doing a 24-hour live stream. I'm flying people to Tampa, Florida. Underdog said they would agree to sponsor it if we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog with promo code FLOCK. They're going to fly people to Tampa, Florida, go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. And if you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get paid $25 to do it. At the same time, you get our 2021 draft guide. You get our 2021 rankings and tiers, and you help the channel more than anything else will ever help us out. So please make sure if you have not already. But anyway, going back to Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you knew Deshaun Watson was playing and you wanted to fire up some drafts in that $1 million contest that Underdog was having, you could make a lot of money because Watson's going really late. I don't know, which is why I'm saying that I'm kind of diverting the question, saying that I don't think really anybody knows, to be completely honest. Okay, so we're going to go with training camp hype star in Elijah Moore. We're going to get Elijah Moore here at the 909. Apparently, he's just been destroying the New York Jets training camp, which, of course, I don't want to read too much into, but at the same time, I loved Elijah Moore coming out of Ole Miss. What's really funny with Elijah Moore is this is a receiver that played his first season in Ole Miss on the same roster that had A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Dawson Knox. They leave for the NFL. Elijah Moore comes out, and you can fact check me on this. Of course, y'all know like all the stats that I pull are just from my memory of going through doing a bunch of research for literally all I think about is fantasy football 24/7, and I've written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages this offseason. But Elijah Moore, his true sophomore year at Ole Miss, he had over 800 receiving yards, and the next best receiving option on that team had under 200. Let me repeat that. Elijah Moore came out at Ole Miss, had over 800 receiving yards his true sophomore year. The next best option on the team did not hit 200. I believe the exact number was 192. And that shows you exactly how much of a freak I am in remembering numbers. And then his third season, he comes out and he averages 150 receiving yards in the SEC a game at 20 years old. Elijah Moore is a freak. We're going to be drafting him here at the 909. I wish that they actually let go of Jamison Crowder. I wish they didn't restructure that contract, but it is what it is. And quarterbacks are a massive value at this point, but we went with Mahomes, so we can't draft one, which of course sucks, but quarterbacks are a massive value. And I would love someone to go through and fact check me with all of that, because if I remembered that the second best receiver on Ole Miss that Elijah Moore played with his second season had 192 receiving yards, y'all have to bow down and y'all have to admit that I am the smartest person that you have ever met. And I have not looked up those statistics since we wrote our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, which, like I said, you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You get that draft guide. I probably have not looked at the Ole Miss receiving breakdowns it's August in 4 months. Let me look up Ole Miss 2019 stats. I'm looking this up because if I am correct, y'all are never hearing the end of it. I'll tell you that. Okay, we just somehow pulled up their basketball stats. Why would anybody ever look up their basketball stats? Okay, Ole Miss, 2020 Ole Miss player stats. Let's go to 2019. Okay, be ready to be this impressed. I swear to God, I have not looked up these numbers, but y'all know that all I do is I sleep, breathe, and think fantasy football 24/7. What did I say? I said Elijah Moore, his second season at Ole Miss, had over 800 receiving yards. I said the next best option on the team was 192. I have not looked at those numbers in about 3 months. Are y'all not telling me that are y'all going to try to tell me that I am not the smartest person on this planet? If that doesn't make you want to get our 2021 fantasy football draft guide, if that doesn't make you want to support the channel by using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, I don't know what does. That's why if y'all like hear me just bring up so many random different stats like in a live stream, that's why I can't kind of like going live so much, is because I can show y'all how much about football that I actually know. That is, I got to flex on y'all for that. Okay, so now Joe Burrow makes it all the way to the 11th round. These quarterbacks were a fantastic value in this draft. Those quarterbacks were a fantastic value. Okay, so now I think we're going to be looking again in the late 11th at probably a wide receiver. No, we actually really need a running back on this team. We only have 2 running backs. I kind of forgot where we were at. Okay, so we have some running backs falling that we like. Cobra Kai is already 4 guys, so possibly we get someone that we like. So he goes Adam Troutman. So yeah, we're only going and looking running back receiver here. Mr. B says, hey, Mason, I'm on Patreon and looking for the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. Where is it? My man, shoot me a DM on Patreon. Literally, if you have any question ever on Patreon, just feel free to shoot me a DM. Now, Kyle Soccer does go with the James Conner. Let's see where Flugel decides to go. His team build so far, he has Herbert, Barkley, Mixon, Dobbins. At receiver, he has Higgins, Chark, Juju, Cooks, Pittman. Doc here has Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift. At receiver, they have Julio Jones. Okay, so Jalen Hurts goes here. Now, Doc, there's Julio, Robbie Anderson, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, Rashad Bateman, Irv Smith. Okay, so let's pull our team back up. Okay, so let's see where Doc goes. He goes Traquan Smith. So in a league that you're getting a full point per reception, we obviously go Fournette. I think here we kind of consider Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is going to have the weekly role in the offense for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that the overall offense is going to be a little... This is close. This is close. I'm trying to... We're going to go with Fournette. I don't think we've drafted Fournette in a single league so far this year. It's definitely close. It's definitely close, though. He doesn't match any of the bye weeks that we currently have on the team. Okay, so let's switch this over. Okay, Gus Edwards does go at the 11-10. That was the other running back that we were considering. Guys, we are about to pass 650 likes on the live stream. Thank you, everybody, coming down there, dropping that like, subscribing to the channel. We passed 29,000 subscribers. Let me double check to make sure that YouTube didn't glitch out and we still have that. Yes, we still have that. That is massive. Thank you, everybody, my dudes. Okay, so Gus Edwards at the 11-10. Brian Edwards at the 11-11. Gabriel Davis. So we're not as pressured to draft a running back here if we don't want to. But here, running back and receiver are going to be the options. And receiver, we have 6 receivers. We have DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Odell, Tyler Boyd, Elijah Moore, and Devonta Parker. So we do have some intriguing wide receivers to go along with it. So it's not like we're necessarily going through and just completely behind the 8 ball at receiver either. We are literally elite at quarterback, receiver, and tight end. We're weak at running back, but I think we're going to be able to catch up with it. Okay, so let's see where Mike Gesicki goes to the 12-02. Definitely someone that should be rising up given the injury to Hunter Long. Okay, so let's see where Sir Dilly goes. Do we have an update on that injury for Hunter Long? I'm going to look this up real quick. Let me make my pick, but I definitely want to make sure that we're checking up on Hunter Long because if he's significantly injured, I think you have to see at least half a round jump for Gesicki. Okay, let's go real quick. We are on the clock. I think that we probably have an easy decision. I know a lot of people are probably going to want to see David Johnson. I just love Jamal Williams this year in best ball because with Jamal Williams, you're just going to be getting touches every week. And if anything were to occur to a DeAndre Swift, that is a player that you're going to be expecting to step up into a role. Yes, he matches the bye week of a Fournette, but we're not necessarily too concerned because we're going to be drafting a lot of those running backs this year. I mean, in this draft. Okay, so let's pull this down here real quick. And let me look up Hunter Long real quick just so we can check in on Mike Gesicki and that price. Okay, so here's a tweet that says, I spoke with one source who said that Dolphins tight end Hunter Long injury is not believed to be season ending. So it does sound as if it may not be as bad as it appeared when Long was carted off with a lower body injury Sunday. That was by Joe Shad. And if we pull up his profile, he's a Miami Dolphins journalist. Okay, so it sounds like he's probably pretty legit. Okay, so essentially it's not season ending, but it does sound like it's pretty significant. And if he's going to miss the entire training camp process as well as the preseason, I think you don't have to worry about Long stealing any snaps whatsoever from Mike Gesicki. So I think maybe it's wheels up for Mike Gesicki this year. I think you have to get pretty excited about Mike Gesicki. Okay, so you have Everett going at the 1209. Okay, so back-to-back tight ends. We kind of want to see tight ends go off the board. I know we only have one, but when you drafted Kelsey, I mean, you're already set at the position. It's literally equivalent to having CMC at running back, where you have such a high floor and ceiling combination where literally, I mean, if Kelsey goes down, well, it sucks. Our first round pick went down. We're losing the league anyway. Who cares? I mean, if you draft Barkley in the first, he goes down, you're losing the league. If you draft Christian McCaffrey in the first, he goes down, you're losing the league. It's the same exact thing here. So if we have Kelsey, I'm completely fine with our last tight end being Eric Ebron. I'm fine waiting until the very end. So if we get more receiver and running back value getting dropped down to us, it's definitely something that I'm going to be excited about. Okay, so now let's go through and Matt Ryan at the 12-12. One thing that sucks about picking the end is you just have so long. It is nice with Underdog, though, that they do 30-second timers instead of 60-second or 90-second, because the 30-second timer, I mean, you're in and you're out and you have the pressure on you. Okay, so Alexander Madison goes. I just really wanted to see the players that are available. There are a decent amount of QBs. I mean, with the Tua Tagovailoa, actually, I was going to say we couldn't consider him because we don't have any Dolphins, but we do have Devonta Parker. I don't know if we want to. There are also a couple teams before us with only one quarterback, so I doubt he even falls. I don't think we even have to consider it. Let's go back to the draft board. Marquez Callaway at the 1304. And guys, if y'all are just now joining the live stream and you're wondering, how do I get in one of these leagues? The number one thing that you can do is subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out at the beginning of the live stream when you're going to have an increased chance of actually being able to go through and click that link faster than 11 other people and to get into one of these leagues, because the links are sent through the live chat. We are going to be sending them through Patreon as well to continue to build that Patreon community. But yeah, that's going to be the best way that you can go through and increase your chances of getting in this next draft. And of course, you got to sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. But we're going to be live drafting every single night until we get to the start of the year. Okay, so now we are back up on the clock. Do we take our first share of Randall Cobb? I heard today that Randall Cobb is actually staying with Aaron Rodgers, which maybe that's significant. If this was any other team, we would just take Evan Ingram here and not really think about it. But given that we have Kelsey, I think we pass on. I definitely prefer having Evan Ingram. But the more I think about it, the more I think when you take a Kelsey, you're already so locked into the position. And that, like I had already said, that if Kelsey ends up losing you the league, it's most likely because he got injured. And if your first round pick is going to get injured, I'm not trying to backfill and play what if games going, oh, if my first round pick goes down, how can I still make sure I have a chance that I win it? How can I hedge my bets? Should I go and should I draft Tony Pollard on the same team I took Ezekiel Elliott? No, you shouldn't do that. Because yes, you raise your floor, but you lower your ceiling with the kind of capital that you're spending into that one position. So instead, I think a Randall Cobb there going to be a slightly better play, even though I think that in a vacuum, Evan Ingram is going to be the value. Joseph Cobb's coming out, says, hey, you, my man, just taking Randall Cobb. Joseph Cobb with the donation. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Okay, Rob Gronkowski at the 13-12. That's the first time we drafted Randall Cobb, and what's embarrassing is he was going, I believe, or maybe, no, not 2 rounds. He was going a round after this, though, after he signed with Green Bay, and I was sitting there going, oh, I don't want Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb's done, and I just drafted him at the 13-09. Okay, so T.Y. Hilton at the 14-01. Let's pull this up. So how far does Ingram have to fall before we consider drafting Evan Ingram? Because the question is, what are we really passing up here if we decide to draft Ingram? Running back, I'm not jumping up and down to take Damian Williams. I'm not jumping up and down to take James White or Giovanni Bernard. Receiver, AJ Green is intriguing. We already have 7 receivers. I think we're most likely going to draft. So we're taking 2 QBs, 2 tight ends. So we have 14 more roster spots to allocate between running back and receiver. So we could go 8 receivers, 6 running backs if we wanted, which I think is maybe going to be the play. Ingram goes. So I think we take another receiver that we think is going to get a lot of snaps in AJ Green, and then we're most likely done at the receiver position. We get 2 more tight ends, and we get 2 more running backs. Actually, no, we need another quarterback. Okay, maybe I miscounted. We're going to get AJ Green here. That's kind of the pressure of the 30-second clock. Let's go through and let's look at where we're at. Okay, thank God. Okay, so we have 4 more rounds. So we're going to get 1 more tight end, 1 more quarterback, 2 more running backs. Okay, we're completely fine. We're completely fine. We're just going to have to wait until we see the value with what we like. So we're going to go AJ Green. AJ Green, not a player that I'm recommending you draft in your regular league, but I think in a format like this, when you're going through and you're seeing the fact that, this is a receiver that's just going to be playing a ton of snaps on one of the most prolific offenses in football. We do have DeAndre Hopkins. No, we did not get Kyler Murray, but at the same time, we're just kind of making a bet on the Arizona Cardinals offense. Christian Kirk, also a receiver that I will sometimes take over AJ Green. I want to make sure that we're kind of split 50-50 between the 2 players. I really think that Christian Kirk's probably the better receiver at this point in their respective careers. But the problem is we have seen just, for whatever reason, Cliff Kingsbury does not want to use Christian Kirk in a slot role. I don't understand it. And at the same time, they give AJ Green, I believe, an $8 million contract. I want to double check that, though. I remember it being $8 million. But I also said the same thing about Sammy Watkins and his contract the other night, and it ended up only being $5 million. And I know it's not a massive difference, but I do want to just make sure I'm getting the details right before I keep saying it. Yeah, so AJ Green signs a deal worth $8 million, and $6 million of it's guaranteed. So he's getting paid all $8 million. Okay, Trent says he doesn't say anything at all, but he comes out and makes a donation. Thank you so much, Trent, for coming out to the live stream, supporting the channel. I do really appreciate it. Okay, so we have some more wide receivers going after the AJ Green selection. Cole Kmet would have been intriguing as another tight end. I think we possibly would have taken Ingram over AJ Green just because the value would have represented itself, even if we probably shouldn't have taken another tight end after Travis Kelce regardless. Okay, so on the 15th here, I just don't think. And guys, we are about to pass 700 likes in the live stream. That is massive. Thank you for everybody coming out here and dropping likes on those videos. Okay, so Hooper at a 1501. Let's switch this over real quick. So also, I guess maybe we could consider going a QB if it comes back around. So we need to draft. We have 4 more picks. We have the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. We need to draft a quarterback, a tight end. Okay, so Deshaun Watson goes. There's a team before us. Kyle Soccer only has 1 QB, so he's, I'd imagine, probably going to go quarterback here. But we need 2 more running backs as well, so maybe we go running back. There are just so many different options. I think at tight end, we're probably not going to be looking at one just because the next best guy would be an Eric Ebron. He's not going to be in consideration for me for a while. Y'all know I'm not a fan of Blake Jarwin. Or Jared Cook, I guess, is at the very top, but at the same thing with Jared Cook. That's an option that maybe it's just my bias against those older players, even though I do have some very, very much old heads on this team. We got an AJ Green, we got a Randall Cobb. So it's not like this team's just completely built around youth. But my bias against those veterans is probably going to make it where I don't draft Jared Cook in a single league this year. And it could be wrong because he's playing with a great quarterback. He's playing in an offense that there are targets to be had. But I don't know why. I think I'm just probably a little biased here. Okay, so Giovanni Bernard goes. Doc 79 is on the clock. Okay, so I think, honestly, we probably have a pretty easy selection. He takes Van Jefferson. So I think we get our second quarterback. What we're looking for in a second QB is we're looking for someone to play all 16 games, preferably stacked with one of our wide receivers. We did take Odell Beckham Jr. here. I think we're most likely just going to end up taking a Baker Mayfield. Yeah, we're going to go with a Baker Mayfield to stack him with Mahomes. Obviously, we're not really expecting that many starts from Baker Mayfield regardless. And I really hope that we don't have Jay in this live chat to give us some crap about taking someone who has... literally, guys, the one problem with Mayfield, and I'll say this every time we draft him, is beyond everything, his decision-making ability is just some of the worst I've ever seen. You look at the fact that he decided to go to college at Oklahoma University when there are colleges like the University of Texas. When there's so many better schools than Oklahoma University. So that one decision right there is a major red flag for me whenever we try to decide if we need to be drafting a Baker Mayfield or not, because that just speaks volume about a person that they would willingly go and live in Norman, Oklahoma that long. And yeah, and now he's living in poor Baker Mayfield. The decision-making ability just isn't there. But also, by the way, you're not going to see any quarterbacks available by the time we get to the 17th round. By the time we get to the 17th round, all those guys that are going to be guaranteed to start all 16 weeks, they're just all going to be soaked up. Okay, so at the 1604, let's figure out who we're going to be going with. Like I said, we need 2 more running backs and we need a tight end. So let's just pull up the running backs and the tight end page. Is this the one draft we have to draft Jared Cook? We have yet to draft him in a single league. This will be our first share, but his ADP is 170, and we're going to be drafting him at 184. And the thing is, at running back, none of these guys really stand out as elite options. I don't even know if we get an Eric Ebron on the way back to us. So it's laughable when you have Jared Cook going over like Cole Kmet and stuff. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. What running back would I go with? Running back, I'd probably go with the Darrington Evans. He's almost 30 picks behind him in ADP. We just got to sometime, we're going to be drafting 250 drafts this year. So we just have to kind of sometimes make picks that I hate. We're going to get Jared Cook there at the 1604. Tyler says, OU sucks. My man, I agree with you. I don't think there's ever been a statement in this live chat that is spoken as loudly as that one and as profoundly as that one at the same time. Okay, so Jerick McKinnon at the 1605, definitely someone rising up draft boards at the moment, given the reports that you're getting out of camp. I really like how this draft went for us. Let me go through and let me recap this draft. Guys, if you're just now coming in here, look at how we just absolutely killed this. So we go Kelsey in the first, Hopkins, Terry McLaurin. And in the fourth, I honestly think that if this was a $50 or $100 league, we most likely would have taken Chris Carson and just go, you know what, let's lock up our running back. We kind of have to play it safe. But this is a $5 draft instead. And y'all know I kind of have to get a lot of practice in and I have to try out some new things for those $100 and $50 drafts that we're going to be doing later. So I wanted to kind of play it out and go, okay, well, what if Chris Carson didn't make it back to us? Let's see if we can try to go through and figure out a solution for not necessarily coming away with a safe running back through the top 4 rounds. So we get Mahomes at the 404 to stack with Kelsey. Then Jacobs falls to us at the 509. Really hoping to kind of pair back one of these running backs with Josh Jacobs in the 6th. It doesn't end up happening. Instead, we get an Odell. Then we get Tyler Boyd. We reluctantly have to take Damian Harris for the guaranteed floor touches that he provides. Then we get an Elijah Moore, a Devonta Parker at receiver. At running back, we have a Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams. At wide receiver, we go back-to-back with Randall Cobb, A.J. Green. We get Mayfield as our quarterback 2, Jared Cook as our tight end 2. So far, if you pull up our roster, it looks like at QB, we have Mayfield and Mahomes. At running back, we have Jacobs, Harris, Fournette, and Jamal Williams. At receiver, we have DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Boyd, Elijah Moore, Devonta Parker, Randall Cobb, A.J. Green. And at tight end, we have both Travis Kelce and Jared Cook. So we have a lot tied up into that Kansas City stack. But obviously, there's going to be a stack that you want to be tied to and you want your season to kind of revolve around. I think Kansas City is not going to be a bad one to have, especially when we add the flexibility where we didn't have to go through and spend those extra roster spots on QB and tight end. Okay, so we have Byron Pringle and Darius Slayton going here. Nico Collins at the 1703. So we need to see these wide receivers. Come on, continue to get these wide receivers off the board. And honestly, kind of a good thing that we went with a tight end and Jared Cook here, because I just don't think we could have taken Ebron over him when Ebron was 30 picks behind in ADP. Like, just from a portfolio standpoint, I think that would look really bad. And we knew that really Ebron wasn't going to fall to us in the 17th. So we kind of had to take a tight end, and I think we just had to take the guy that is valued so much higher across draft boards and sleeper. And now we're going to be going running back at the 1709. Most likely getting a guy I'm very excited about. Okay, so I'll say this. I think Chuba Hubbard has league-winning upside. If you look at what he was able to do at Oklahoma State in 2019, he was actually a Heisman finalist. And if you looked at the odds for the Heisman going into 2020, Chuba Hubbard was at the very top of the list. He gets injured in 2020 as some off-the-field stuff. And you just see a complete fall off in his play. And he went from being what was perceived to be a first-round NFL draft pick to a fourth-round NFL draft pick. So he has a ton of upside. Devontae Booker may be intriguing as well, simply because we don't have a single share of Chuba Hubbard, and I can see him having that path to being a high-end running back 2 in fantasy if anything were to occur to a Christian McCaffrey. We are going to take a Chuba Hubbard. Maybe he's a little less valuable in best ball, to be honest, though. We do need to consider the fact that he is never going to have any usable weeks when Christian McCaffrey's healthy, and that matters a lot more in a best ball league. So maybe we should have most likely gone with a Devontae Booker, where maybe if Saquon Barkley for the first 3 weeks is actually a little hindered by his injury, then all of a sudden you can get at least a few usable weeks from Devontae Booker. And at the same time, we know if anything were to occur to Saquon Barkley, then he does step into that same role. So maybe Booker was the play. I think I kind of got a little emotional there with Chuba Hubbard getting the opportunity to draft him when usually I'm not going to be drafting running backs in this range. Okay, guys, we are at 666 with our likes. Can someone either dislike the video or drop a like on it so we can get off that and I don't have to continue to look at that for the next 5 minutes? Guys, we're going to be on the clock, one position and one position only to look at. And I know Underdog gave us a really bad projection here, but this is one of my favorite drafts we've done. I think from an unbiased perspective, this team just has a ridiculous ceiling if you're going to consider the fact that Kelsey Mahomes should provide us far above average numbers at both QB and tight end. We should crush the league at receiver. With the amount of receivers that we have, I think we're going to crush the league at receiver as well as at the flex spot with our additional running backs. So I'm not going to be drafting any of these Philadelphia guys. I mean, I understand the thought process with Kenneth Gainwell, but at the same time, I think he was more so a player that the dynasty community hyped up a little bit too much going into the NFL draft, and I was a part of that, so I don't want to go away from it. But we need to be smart enough to realize that when a player falls to the 5th round in the NFL draft, you can't overlook it. And here we are going to be taking Malcolm Brown. This is honestly probably another player I should have possibly considered going over a Chuba Hubbard, but we get him anyway, so we don't necessarily have to worry about it. So let me go through and let me show y'all the entire draft board. We have Andy coming down and says the projections are awful and meaningless. I mean, I kind of agree with you that I think the projections are pretty bad, but at the same time, I think it's maybe a little reckless to just go through and assume that they are completely useless. Okay, my dudes, we are about to end this live stream, and I want to make sure I get a link out to everybody for our free fantasy football group chat, something that I don't want to say promote's probably the bad word, but something I do not tell you all about enough is that we have a free fantasy football group chat. Literally, all you have to do is click the link, choose a nickname, and then you're in the chat chatting. You do not need an email. You do not need a credit card thing. I'm not trying to sign you up for some email list or anything. It's literally just a free fantasy football group chat. So if you want in, I'm sure you can talk to a lot of other people in the flock, get a lot smarter about fantasy football, get your questions answered, as well as just answer some other people's questions. And at the same time, my dudes, let's switch this over after y'all have seen the entire draft board. I don't think y'all need to see the last 2 picks. At the same time, guys, if you have yet to use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, please make sure you go and do it. If we hit 10,000, Underdog is sponsoring an event where we fly people out to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me. We do a 24-hour live stream. We also go through and we have a Flock meetup in Florida. And if you sign up with Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you're getting $25 added onto your account with a $10 deposit. You get my 2021 rankings, my 2021 draft guide, over hundreds of pages, and my Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. So please make sure you take advantage. Nothing helps this channel more. And let me go through and let me send out the link to our free fantasy football group chat. I'm going to spam it like 1,000,000 times over. So it's just going to say join our free group chat. And this is the only thing that you're going to be seeing in the live chat right now. I'm sure a lot of y'all are already in there to start it. Okay, did I even copy and paste it? Did I copy and paste it? Okay, so we just sent that out. Make sure you join our free fantasy football group chat. I spammed it in the chat. And yeah, thank you all for coming out. We passed 29,000 subscribers on the channel today, which obviously is massive. Thank you, my dudes. And I really hope y'all have a great day. And I'll see y'all